Whacker is 60 million down the drain. Kai Havertz, man of the match.
Man of the match.
But let's derail Arsenal season. The derail Arsenal season's trophy. Yeah, this game's long gone, Tom.
Waka waka, hey, 60 million down the drain. Kai Havertz scores again. Matisse, hold that. That's your guy, Matisse, in a title race.
Man of the match, hijo de puta, yeah?
I'm disappointed actually because I really fancied Tottenham.
We got bullets, we got bazookas, we got ammunition,
We got explosive. Brother, we running riot April 28th.
Oh. We coming for you, brother!
Zeke, how gassed I am. How happy I am. And it ain't that, by the way, because I'm not even tipsy. Am I tipsy? No. Thank you. I'm not even tipsy.
That title hope, aye!
Wow.
I said final nail in the coffin. Gooners, it's gonna hurt even more.
What's your corner? What's your goal?
Yes! Come on! Oh yes! Hold that! Hold that!
Thank you very much!
Come on, Micaiah! Yeah! Yeah! Oh my God! Get it! Oh my days! To Arsenal! Havertz! What I tell man! Havertz is gonna score blood!
Yeah, I said I'll never celebrate a single goal that guy scores for my football club.
It didn't even look like a good ball in. It's actually pathetic.
Own goal, is it?
Own goal!
It was Højbjerg. It was King Højbjerg, wasn't it? Was it Højbjerg? Tell me right now if it was Højbjerg.
He should have gone for the dive.
Why are they having a team talk mid-game? Shut up and go back!
Fucking 2-0! Fucking 2-0! Fucking 2-0! 2-0!
Penalty all season. And because of referees like this, that is why. Look at this. Saka's by himself now. We didn't get the penalty, and now, look at this. Another goal.
Oh, bro, we have to be the worst in the league.
But we didn't get the penalty! You absolute knob! You don't want to get the penalty, but you want to give the goal.
This is pathetic.
Look, 3-0.
Every time it's off.
Clean set pieces.
Look at Ben White, the absolute knob. I would have knocked him out. Just like that. Back of the head. Knockout.
Welcome back to the Top 6 show. What an epic weekend of football. And there was, had to make it. Had to make. There was so much stuff.
You outdone yourself.
I got sent so many clips. I must have got out about 40 or 50 DMs in the last 12 hours. And you got to feature this. I changed it just before we went live because I got sent one more in. So yeah, it was amazing. It really, really was. Great weekend of football. Not for everybody. It's awful for my club. Awful if you're a Chelsea fan. Disastrous if you're a Liverpool fan. But I think overall as football supporters, it was an amazing weekend. Brilliant panel for you tonight. Dio is here. Igao is back again. Mr. Don is with us. Henry talks football. Paddy was meant to be on the show. But like the Tottenham fans and Liverpool fans, they've all done a bit of a burn.
I'm still here.
Well, no, other than you, sorry. But all the other Spurs fans, that we had a couple of others that agreed to be on. They're now not here. They've got to cook dinner for their family.
That's convenient.
Paddy has gone MIA. He said on Saturday morning, I'll be there. I missed last week. He said, I'll be there. But I don't know where Paddy is. He is missing. I have spoken to a few milk companies to put some faces onto milk cartons. But yes, most of the Spurs fans, all of the Liverpool fans, we've got about 14 in our group chat. None of them were free. And this is the maddest bit. Most of them, you know, get stay-at-home mums. They're what I call stay-at-home geeks. They all stay at home. They don't go out. They're here. They're watching the show, but they didn't want to show their faces today. Loads and loads and loads to talk about on the show. I know, by the way, Kate is here. She's actually, her sister's been know about UK, to be fair. Kate's got an actual excuse, as in she told us well ahead of time she wouldn't be available for tonight. And we need to get Paddy on because Paddy's got to wear an Arsenal shirt because he made a bet they would win. And if not, he was going to wear an Arsenal kit. So he was definitely going to go missing today, 110%. But I hope they're all well and safe and there's nothing bad that's happened to them. But loads to talk about. I wanted to start actually with Liverpool because the Klopp farewell tour has become a farewell disaster. More drop points from a winning position at the weekend. They're out of the title race now. Is that what you expected to see, Henry, from Liverpool, or did you expect them to fight back?
I actually predicted a West Ham win. I feel since the Man United FA Cup game, something's clearly got in Klopp's head, the players' heads. They've wasted chance after chance after chance, more chances than my ex-misses. You know, it's absolutely ridiculous how wasteful they are in front of goal. They lacked character. That I still believe, and I know Paddy's going to disagree with this. I still believe
Paddy.
I think they need another leader in that team. Like Van Dijk's been relatively well for 95% of the season, but since the Man United FA Cup game, it's almost been like there's been a wobble with Liverpool's performances. And yes, they've won games against Sheffield United and Brighton, but they've not been the Liverpool for a majority of this season in those games. West Ham, big physical side, Antonio in there, Zuma in there. I just didn't fancy Liverpool in this game. We can talk about what happened with Salah and all that on the sidelines later, but just not. I didn't think Liverpool was a great performance, and it's for me now. It's about them just getting into the summer. They've got Champions League football, seeing what Slot can do, and finding out who's going to be there and who's not, and who's leaving. Because like this game for me is just what Liverpool have been like for the last 3 or 4 weeks, missing chances. I don't think the midfield's got the balance right yet. I think they're crying out for a DM still. I know Endo's been a good addition, but I still think they need a monster number 6. I just don't think Liverpool. I think they just run out of steam. I don't buy into this narrative though that Carragher is saying they've overachieved because their squad is still very, very, very good. But yeah, I just feel like Liverpool just haven't been at the races since the FA Cup game for me personally.
Yeah, and watching that game, Terry, to me, yeah, I even tweeted it out. It literally just looked like, remember in school when you're coming towards the end of the year and like the teachers aren't even bothered to teach, you know, everyone's just going in, just doing what they want in lesson. That's what it looked like to me, man. It just looked like a group of players that they've just kind of checked out. You know, they know that a new manager's coming in. Klopp knows that he's leaving. I saw the presser before the game of Klopp, yeah, and I'm looking at him, I'm thinking, yo, this guy just seems a bit. Like it just came across as really weird, like a guy that just doesn't really care what's going on at the minute. So, listen, I wasn't surprised by that performance, man. Some of your players that came in, Harvey Elliott, I've been saying he's been good this year. He came in on that right-hand side and he was bad, man. He was poor, you know. Salah hasn't been good, but he didn't really do anything when he was playing either. Do you know what I'm saying? And overall, like Henry has said, you know, you guys just keep missing chances at the minute. That's what your main issue is, and you know, lapse of concentration at the back as well. But I think that these players have just given up now, man. That's how I kind of look at it. I think they've just given up and signed out now.
I don't think it's the players. I look at the manager's decisions to play that lineup to begin with, and I say to myself, would he have played that lineup if they beat Crystal Palace and they beat Everton? I can tell you that I think 100% he wouldn't, based on the teams that he put out, his best team that he put out. You never seen a front three like that, I don't think, unless there was major injuries to their front line. And Darwin Núñez over Cody Gakpo every day of the week. Why would you play Cody Gakpo in the number 9 over Darwin Núñez? Why would you not start Mo Salah if you really wanted to win this game? And yes, Mo Salah's not in form, but over Harvey Elliott, like, let's be serious. And then when it comes to the midfield, I think he got the midfield wrong also. The whole team lineup just looked like a team that was like on the beach. So for me, that's what they were. And this Liverpool team, they mentally were defeated after the Crystal Palace result. The Everton result was just icing on the cake. The West Ham result just solidifies it for me.
Do you feel, obviously Mo Salah and Klopp had a proper kickoff, a proper Barney on the sidelines, which you don't see very often at the bit. You sometimes see when a player comes off, not when they're coming onto the football pitch. Do you think maybe that what you're saying there, the manager picked a really unfamiliar team, a team you wouldn't expect from a side that had to win. Do you think maybe the players have looked at it like Mo Salah and gone, why have you done this to us when we absolutely had to win? Why have you picked such a weak team, Klopp? What have you, almost like it was sabotage?
I fully agree, Terry.
I mean, first of all, I between my last appearance and this appearance, has been a bit of a turbulent time for me as a fan. It's yeah. I just think, like you're talking about questioning Salah being benched. Salah didn't deserve to start that game. Salah has been putrid the last month or so, month or two. He's been very, very bad, like categorically, respectfully shit. So he didn't deserve to start. Darwin Núñez, he needs to be sold. He couldn't hit a barn door. I hate watching that man play football. He is so terrible in front of the goal, and you can't teach that. You either can finish or you can't. And I've washed my hands of him now. And I just think, as you said, it was the Crystal Palace game that done us. If we had won that, who knows what would have happened in terms of the momentum switch. But ever since the United FA Cup game on St. Patrick's Day, the 17th of March, that kind of just derailed us. And I don't like to give United credit at all, but that's what's happened. We couldn't regain that momentum. And the Palace game was the chance to be like, right, just beat Palace at home, see what happens. But of course, we didn't, and that was it. And then obviously everything since then is like it was already dead. The Klopp is leaving. He's lost his energy. He doesn't have that fight in him anymore. So it's a really sad end to the Klopp era. Well, for me, us as Liverpool fans, a lot of people will be enjoying it. Right?
I love it.
Yeah, and I don't. Yeah, no. From a rival's fan point of view, it's going to be like that. But yeah, it's been really. I've just been down. I've not been eager to rush on the football terrace, let me tell you, but we got to come up and face our face the consequences at some point. But yeah, we're finished, and now we've got Isak Schrader from Breaking Bad coming in.
I just want to say one thing though. It doesn't matter if Mo Salah's on poor form or Darwin Núñez is on poor form. You're not starting Harvey Elliott and Cody Gakpo in a title decider. I know that. You know that.
Well, why though? If they're not on form, they're not offering what we need them to offer. I think yeah, I think it was. I think Klopp was right in his decisions, and the way Salah reacted, that has left a bitter taste in a lot of fans' mouth. Because as much as we love Salah, the minute you go up against Klopp, there's only one winner here. And yeah, I'm not going to lie, I was surprised to hear that Salah's going to be staying, and I'm disappointed he is. To be honest, I think it's a good time to go.
Raw.
Why are you sorry, mate. Why are you disappointed that he's staying? He's your greatest ever Premier League player.
Yeah, but all good things come to an end, and I think we've seen the
he's not their greatest ever Premier League player.
Paddy, why though? He's still put up numbers this season.
He's their greatest ever goal scorer. He's the greatest goal scorer, but he's not their greatest player. No way.
Why not? Well, let Paddy answer. We'll come to that in a second, Henry. But why do you think he should go?
I don't think I just think it's the right time. I think cashing in 100 million off Saudi would be much needed for this rebuild that we're gonna need. Like the new manager Arne Slot, seemingly. I think it's just better. I think there'll be more use of 100 million than a 32-year-old Mohamed Salah. And I love him, but I think it's fair to say his powers are waning, and he's not the same player we've seen.
So Paddy, I just wanted to say,
I've got a question for Paddy though. He still puts up numbers. So why are you so keen to get rid of him? Why are you upset that he's staying?
Well, he was putting up numbers before AFCON, but since his injury, he's not really been putting up the numbers. And the decline has been rapid. He's lost a yard of pace. I don't know. He's been let down by Darwin Núñez's finishing at times. He's put him on a plate a few times as well. But yeah, I don't know, man. I think we could do better. I think we need the next best thing, i.e. Mohamed Kudus, something like that. I don't know. And the way he acted with Klopp there didn't sit right with me. He's been benched probably. That was probably maybe the second time he's ever been benched for form. Maybe even the first time, honestly. And you could see on the sideline there, he didn't like that and didn't shake Klopp's hand. That's no way to treat the man, give you everything.
But that's what I was about to say, Paddy. I think Klopp made a mistake benching the players that had the highest GA on the team. Like in the last runnings of the game, when you come to the end of the season, regardless of format, at this point, I would put up. That's why when people were like, Bukayo Saka needs rest, I'm like, no, he doesn't. He's one of our highest GAs. Like, put him on the pitch. We have a better chance of getting half a chance of a goal from him to somebody else to score and win that game than putting somebody who just because they're fit might not be able to give us the GA output we're looking for. You see what I'm saying? Like, I would rather have 4 front players who their average GA is 16 each, knowing fully well that between all 4 of them, something could happen. instead of having let me bring Eddie Nketiah up, and then let me bring Reece Nielsen, because they are fresh and they are warmed up, but their output might not be able to get me. I'm literally reducing my chances. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's the big mistake that Klopp made with Salah. And I think at the time you're bringing a player like that on, Salah's like, what do you want me to do at this point? Look at the scoreline. You're bringing me in now. What miracle do you want me to perform? And I don't know what they said to each other, but I would feel that way as a player.
What happened is Klopp wanted the camera opportunity of having a hug before he came on, and Mo Salah didn't want to hug him. And then Klopp kicks off with him. I don't really understand what Mo Salah has done wrong here. I would want my player to be disappointed and upset that he's been dropped. That's the reaction you want from a player. He doesn't have to give Klopp a cuddle on the side of the pitch. He doesn't need to have his bum slapped by him and giving him a cuddle so it all looks great. He's frustrated, and then Klopp starts kicking off with him. And I think I understand your point that he's kicked off with the man that gave him everything. But you guys are now turning your back on, in my opinion, he's your greatest ever Premier League player. But if he isn't your greatest, he's in your top 2 or 3. He's given you guys everything. And suddenly, I understand you've got to move on. And sentiment doesn't have a great part in sport. You have to move on at the right time. But the way I've seen Liverpool fans talk about Mo Salah in the last few days, it's very ungrateful for someone that has done more for you than nearly any other attacker over the past 30 years.
Yeah, but the thing is, though, Terry, the performances have finally caught up with him, though, because over the years, a lot of the bad performances were masked by the GA, and Mane helped him a lot. Obviously, it's a team game. Firmino helped him a lot, like we spoke about before. But now that he's not putting up the GNA, they're focusing a lot on his performances. And like Paddy has said, he was rightly dropped, bro. He was rightly dropped. The person you've got to look at is Harvey Elliott for not performing and coming in and doing a job on that wing. For me, he's not a winger. But you got to look at that, because Salah's not been good. I know Salah's great. I know Salah puts up the numbers, but in terms of the performances, he just has not been good.
Hang on a minute, though. But when you say his performances have caught up with him, okay, that's typically, when you say something's caught up with somebody, that's what you would say about in life. Someone who's a liar and a swindler finally getting caught by the police. When you say they've caught him out, you're acting like Mo Salah's performances have been like this regularly over the last 7 or 8 years. This has been one of the most consistent performances over the past 7 or 8 years.
I'm talking about away from the GNA, Terry, like we've spoken about before with Salah, right? Because like I've said to you before, and like Roms has said to you before, Mane and Firmino have saved this guy on numerous occasions where, like I said, he hasn't put up the GNA, right? And his performances haven't been good. Do you know what I'm saying? But at the minute, like you've said, his GNA isn't there. Like Paddy said, it's dried up. And now people focusing on the performances because the GNA is not there. At the same time, I've seen Salah create some good chances for Darwin and all of these guys, and they keep missing in front of goal. He has played a part in this title running. But at the same time, he hasn't been good enough, bro. He hasn't been good enough overall. I expect more from Salah, and he hasn't been able to do it.
But Don, this is the thing I keep hearing from you. You always talk about players not good enough. And so because of that, bench him. We said the something about Bukayo Saka 2 weeks ago. You were here saying Saka has not been good enough. Put him on the bench. He needs rest. He needs this. Against you, he didn't really.
I never said bench him.
I'm saying you said he needs rest, and then some people said bench him. Listen to what I'm saying. You said he needs rest.
No, you said I said that, bro. You said that. You said my name. I said it. You have to change things, Kyle. You do this all the time, bro. You said I said it, bro. I didn't say that, bro. So don't lie.
I said you said he needs rest, and some people said bench him. I said it very fast. Some people said bench him. You said he needs rest. You said he's not been good enough. His output is not good enough. Saka is not. He's not carrying the team. He can't carry the team like Palmer. And I'm like, I hear you, but the reason you're playing your best players is to give yourself a best chance of scoring more. And at the end of the day, guess what? Against Tottenham, he showed up. He eventually showed up. You need those players on the pitch. I hear you when you say Salah has not been performing since AFCON, which is true. Salah has not been performing since AFCON. He had an injury. He came back from it. Remember, he's 32 years old. He's not a young buck where his injury is going to heal overnight and he can get back on the pitch. It will take a while to pick up, but he's still Salah. And the minute you give him the chance, to be in the game consistently, you're allowing him the chance to do better, like to go back to his form. You keep him on the bench doesn't help him really. And this is the thing is,
I hear it. I want to just jump in as well for a second and say something. Don, I don't think what you've said about him in sort of the way he's been performing in the last few months is unfair. I think it's fair to drop him. I wouldn't say dropping him for Harvey Elliott, who has been just as bad as him in that time. It becomes a bit of a micro penis competition.
You think Harvey Elliott's been bad?
Harvey Elliott's he's been beige. Harvey Elliott is always beige. Every now and then a good strike.
I think
Harvey Elliott has just been.
I think he's done well coming off the bench, but I don't think he's done great.
Harvey Elliott has done. Harvey Elliott looks nice on the eye, but he does very, very. He's that guy that buys the girl the flowers, makes her feel good, makes her laugh, but he never seals the deal, bruv. Did you know what I mean? He's friends.
I think you're underrating Harvey Elliott a little bit, man. I think he's a good player. I like Harvey Elliott, man, but I think you should get more starts.
Don, you don't make no sense.
Anyway, I don't want to sidetrack from the point I was making. What you said about Mo Salah, I find it disrespectful to football. I saw this happen when.
Here we go.
This is true. And
GNA,
then
you're going to start with GNA again.
I'm never going to mention the word GNA. So here we go. This happened to Cristiano Ronaldo in his last few months at Manchester United. I saw people say things like what you just said. His performances have caught up with him. People were saying, "I'll see Ronaldo now, Terry. This is what I've been telling you about him for years." Now, you were saying this about him when he was 25 and amazing. Mo Salah has been absolutely phenomenal throughout his Liverpool career. Consistent, multiple top-level performances for long periods of time. Yes, of course, Don. You are factually correct to say there's been many games where he hasn't been at his best, and Firmino's been the star, or Mane's been the star. But in the same breath, there's been multiple games where Firmino and Mane haven't turned up, and Salah has been the star. It is a team sport. I've seen this through my club had one of the greatest teams in the history of world football throughout the 90s and the noughties. And there were some games Giggs was a star. The next game, Scholes stood out. The game after that, it was Dwight and York with Calypso football. It was very rarely one player, 8 or 9 out of 10 every week being the main guy. Very, very rarely indeed. I think what people are now doing to Mohamed Salah is they're jumping on when he's going through his first real bad long-term period at Liverpool. People are having to pile on to push agendas that they've had for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 seasons. I've seen it with Ronaldo when he was getting towards the end of his career, as an example. We've seen it this season, right, with the guy that's going to win the Golden Boot in Haaland. For the first time in his young career, he's had a bad patch. By the way, his bad patch is everybody else's amazing patch. And the world piles on. And the people that pile on are the people that either never rated him or they rate somebody else and it's their chance to jump on. I think Mo Salah probably deserves to be dropped. But the way people are talking about him like, see, I told you this is what he was. No, this is what maybe he's becoming as he's getting to that age where a lot of football players start to drop off. What Mo Salah was at his pomp, it was amazing. You can't say you were right about him 7 years ago because in the twilight of his career, he's dipping. And I want to be very careful with the narrative around Mo Salah because people are going to try and twist it into, see, this is what I told you he was about. And I think that's crazy.
Listen, I hear what you're saying to an extent, but end of the day, this is one of the things that I've spoken about Salah for years. And when we have the Salah and the Hazard debate, I've said to you that for me, in terms of actually getting involved in the game and getting the game by the scruff of the neck, I don't really see Salah doing that. In terms of the GNA, yes, hold on. No.
Let me finish my point. 1 second, bro. Hang on, guys. I'm muting all of you. Guys, I'm muting everyone. I am getting a bit annoyed at this on the show. When I jump in the middle of an argument, please all stop so I can conduct it as the host of the show. Let me go to Don, then I'll go to you, Gal. Then I want to get Paddy's opinion on this. Back to you, Don.
Yeah, so like I've said to you, Terry, yeah, for me, Salah is a great, Premier League great. You can't put down the numbers. But I've always said about the other side of the game in terms of performing away from the GNA. So you can say, listen, right now, people are trying to jump on it because he's dropped down a level. I wasn't hearing that at the start of the season when Salah was bagging, you know what I'm saying? And he was getting a lot of GNA. It's only now people are saying, oh, maybe his level's dropped a little bit because he hasn't been putting up the GNA. But like I've said, these level of performances have been there for years, bro. Even when Salah was in his pomp, they've been there for years. Where he hasn't had a good game, but he puts up a goal, puts in an assist, and it takes away from the overall performance. That's my point. But it doesn't mean that I think Salah's a bad player. I think Salah's a great. Like
can I ask you a question, just on a scale of 1 to 10? Out of every 10 games, how often would you say that Mo Salah doesn't turn up and forget GNA, doesn't perform and it isn't involved in the game? How many games out of 10 at his pomp and at his peak would you say?
It's hard for me to say that because number one, I'm not a Liverpool fan, so I'm not going to remember every single performance. But like I've said, I do remember a lot of performances where Salah gets a goal and assist, but in terms of his overall game, he hasn't been that good. But again, you can't put down the consistency, Terry. Like I've said, home.
Yeah, but
away,
you should be able to
numerous-
put. But if you've watched him enough to have this opinion that he doesn't take enough games by the scruff of the neck, you've got to have an idea about out of how many 10, out of how many 50, how many 100 games he plays, how many was he go missing in? Like you must remember to have such a strong opinion. You must have an idea of a number.
Bro, what do you mean have an idea about the number? I've spoken to you before about Mane and Firmino turning up when he wasn't turning up.
But give me some specificity. How many games out of 10 do you think he's anonymous in his career?
Bro, I'm not going to just start making up numbers. I'm not going to
No,
do
you
that.
wouldn't be making up a number. You'd be giving us it based on your opinion. It's not making it up. You must know.
No, because it doesn't work like that, Tel. How am I going to go over the years and say, oh, in this season,
I can tell it works like that. I can tell it works like that, Don. If I was to talk about Scott McTominay, I could quite comfortably say, I believe Scott McTominay turns up in maybe 1 or 2 games out of 10 where he looks really good. I am comfortable with that claim. I look at someone like Wayne Rooney for Man United, and I would say on performances, forget G&A, Wayne Rooney probably turned up on 7.5 to 8 out of 10 performances out of 10. It's a guesstimate, but I would think most people go, I kind of get that. You must be able to put a number to how often he goes anonymous in games.
Bro, I'll probably say majority of the time, bro. I'll be real with you. I'll say majority of the time. I'll be real with you.
Terry, this is why I wanted to interject.
Majority of the time, I'll see Salah score or get an assist. But in terms of overall and getting involved in the game, I don't see it enough, bro. I don't see it enough. In the big games, he's had a lot of moments. He's turned up in a lot of big games. You can't put that down on him. Like I said, in terms of GNA,
Don, hold on.
Hold on, Dio. I can never say much in terms of GNA when it comes to Salah because that itself, it talks for itself. But in terms of the
GNA,
can I jump in here? Because I've been waiting for this guy to finish.
Let's just go, and then I'm going to get Paddy to round it up for us. Go on.
Guys, simply put, he stated his reason for bringing up this whole point. His whole point is to bring up Hazard and to big him up and put down Salah. That's his whole argument. He does not have the same level of consistency throughout his argument for other players. He doesn't have the same level of consistency and argument for his own team and his own players on his own team. He's holding Mo Salah to unrealistic expectations based on the fact that he continues to get compared to his club legend. And he told us, he told us all during this stream, during his argument to bring down Mo Salah. Immediately, nobody here brought up Hazard but himself, and he immediately compared him and started speaking about complete waffle. So you can continue to speak for the next 20 minutes, and you're not gonna. Just
because you don't agree with it, don't mean it's waffle, guys. Don't do that. Don't do that.
I did not interrupt you. I actually shut my mouth and was sitting there quietly, so you could sit there quietly and listen to what I have to say. Because sometimes
you're trying to say it's waffle because you don't agree with it, bro.
You don't listen to
do
that.
Paddy, over to you to round up the Salah conversation because obviously I get your point. You kind of want Liverpool to move on from him, but obviously it's kind of gone into a bit of a discussion around him not really turning up in the majority of games in his Liverpool career. Like, do you echo that as a Liverpool fan?
I mean, listen, me and Don had this dance last week or the other week about this. His argument is purely based on around his Hazard propaganda, as Igal says. There's
of course it is. I'm not hiding away from it.
Hold on a minute now. You say take away the GNA. That you're taking away a key fundamental of an attacker. So it's like take away a goalkeeper's arms. It makes no sense. Listen, Salah has been one of our most consistent performers since the game in 2017. He has been unbelievable. This is his worst patch of form, admittedly, and you know it's been really, really bad. But I'm just all the scenarios and all the context around it. I'm surprised he's not going. Purely because the new manager, it's probably a time for him to walk away. You know, a lot of players might be like, right, this is my out now. We're not getting any better right now. We've had our time. We've won. I want a new challenge. He's not getting any younger. The AFCON thing in the middle of the season every year is a big annoyance as well. I love the man. We'll always love him. He can stay for as long as he wants, but I think purely based on footballing reasons, it would be a good time for him to go.
But Paddy, don't believe everything you read because
but I have a question though.
The club putting out there that he's up for sale just reduces the price. So for them saying keeping him would actually entice people.
But it's Ornstein, and Ornstein very rarely goes live with a piece of news unless he is like 95% certain. Generally speaking, there. I want to go to Will because he's got a question. But Don, this is where you confuse me, brother. I actually got a lot of time and respect for you. 1 minute you say that he's gone missing in the majority of games he's played in. In the next breath, you say he's a great. And I don't understand how you can be a great but not turn up in the majority of games.
We've spoken about this before, Terry, because I can't. Bro, You lot think I ignore the GNA. GNA is like Paddy said, is a key component for an attacker. GNA, no one can talk to Salah about the GNA, bro. But the thing that I've criticized him with, constructive criticism, which is okay with players, don't matter how great they are, every player has got weaknesses and things you can criticize them on. And what I've said with Salah is, in terms of getting involved in a game, right? I want to see it more from him. Do you know what I mean? And like I've said, he's got the ability to do it, bro. Look at the goal that he scored against Man City when they beat like 3 players. He's got the ability to do it. But obviously, I didn't see it enough consistently.
I think Mo Salah done that about 3 or 4 times where he's dribbled past the whole defense. But genuinely, how many times have like great dribblers dribbled past the whole defense and scored a goal at the highest level of the game? Like,
that's not even the point that I'm saying. What I'm saying is, in terms of getting involved in the game, bro. In terms of getting involved in the game and taking the game by the scruff of the neck, the GNA it speaks for itself. I'm talking about wingers. When I look at Salah and when I look at Hazard, it's night and day with how they play. Night and day, bro. Night and day.
Yeah, I want to go to Will. Sorry, Will. What was your question? Then we're going to move on to Chelsea.
Nah, so it was for Don. So is your whole thing that Salah is just overrated, basically?
Nah, I just don't think he's better than Hazard. That's my thing. That's why I came back and rounded it up. Listen, I've said, I respect the guy. I think the guy's a great, bro. I respect him. He's a Premier League great. For me, he doesn't get into my best 11, but I just don't think he's better than Hazard.
When it comes to this conversation, it's like speaking to a Trumper about Trump. That's what you are. Really.
Yeah, but do you know what it's done? It diminishes your footballing opinion in people's eyes. And I'm talking to the viewers here, because what they'll see is you're kind of over-egging the slightly negative parts of Mo Salah just to win a Hazard argument that wasn't even part of the debate. It wasn't even in the debate. It wasn't a debate about.
But the thing is, Hazard and Salah will always be some sort of debate. When you talk about Salah, Hazard will enter the conversation somehow.
No,
the reason why I bring up Hazard,
we're going to move on from this in interest of time. There's a few super chats on this I want to jump to. First one says Hazard is better than Salah, in my humble opinion, is what this guy said. Yeah, I mean, people can have that opinion. It just weren't the debate today. Don gets me so mad sometimes. Arsenal fan here. Don talks about Mudwakey and them scrubs and talks about Salah not turning up in overall play. Not even a Liverpool fan, by the way.
Mudwakey turned up the other day, though.
Yeah. Don, give up this Hazard thing early. You've already been losing a lot already this season.
Do you know why I brought up Hazard? Yeah, is because Terry said, "Oh, we're only trying to say this now about Salah because he hasn't been playing well." When we've been saying this for years, that's why I brought up Hazard, because the point that Terry made.
But that's not a counter to my point. My point is, when you guys were saying that his performances weren't good when he was in his pomp, it wasn't true. You then wait for his actual performances to get bad and say, "This is what I've always said," and that's
you just didn't agree with it. It wasn't true. You just didn't agree with it.
That's disingenuous. Well, I don't agree it's true. I don't believe that he didn't turn up you couldn't put a number on it. And then you said, I don't think he turned up in the majority of matches. I think if you put a poll out now on the internet and had 1,000 or 1 million, up to 1 million people vote on it, most people would say you were wrong, that he's not turned up in the majority of his Liverpool games. I think most people
I've had multiple conversations with like I said, I wish Roms was on this show. I've had multiple conversations with Roms about Salah and him ghosting in a lot of games.
I'll ask Roms a question. I know Roms watches. Roms, if you can text me or DM me now, do you think Mo Salah didn't turn up in the majority of his Liverpool games? Yes or no? I'd love to get your take on that, Roms. Tevin here says, so that is what he wants. If he doesn't do step overs and dribbles past 4 or 5 players, he doesn't have a good performance. Yeah, sure. This here says Hazard couldn't lace Salah's boots. Don's delusional. This states here, Don's Salah agenda is mad. Salah is a top-class player that puts fear on rivals. However, Hazard is clear. Eden Hazard over Salah, dribbling, playmaking, and clutch.
That's what I'm saying. People don't listen because I called Salah a great. I called him a great.
Yeah. And also said didn't turn up in loads of games. I don't understand. Salah is the best Premier League player if used correctly. He turned from a dribbler to a creator this season. Teams let him down. From an Arsenal fan, come on, you gooners. Luke Skywalker here says smash the like button as well. Obviously, it was an interesting game for Chelsea over the weekend, Don. I know we spoke about it on the match reaction, but for the first time probably all season, your manager made some really good tactical changes at half-time that saw Chelsea really dominate that second half and look like a proper team.
Yeah, exactly. And listen, that's what I've been begging for, Terry. You know, just doing little basic tactical tweaks like this, you know, because a lot of people say Chelsea haven't got good players. Chelsea are a bad team. And listen, I agree. Chelsea are a bad team at the minute. But a big reason why is because of how this manager's been setting us up and how he's been playing a lot of people out of position, hasn't been allowing the team to build a lot of chemistry. But in terms of the team overall, bro, I don't look at our team and think it's a useless team. There's nothing that you can get out of them. I look at some players then, I'm like, yo, they can cook a little something. Do you know what I'm saying? And like I said, in that first half, bro, we weren't really doing anything with the ball. We were just keeping it like I've seen all season. There wasn't really any patterns. People say, oh, without Enzo, we play better. But in that first half, the midfield, I was seeing the exact same thing, bro. I wasn't seeing Gallagher and Caicedo really doing much. Do you know what I mean? Again, you know, on that transition, every time we kept losing the ball, Aston Villa were better than us because they've got better quality. You've got Leon Bailey, you've got Watkins, and then you've got Rodgers as well. And they're obviously more well drilled. But in terms of anything else other than that, bro, they weren't really doing anything. Do you know what I mean? In the second half, the little tweak, putting Cucurella in midfield, playing him in the pivot of Caicedo, allowing Gallagher to press a lot higher with Palmer, it allowed us to play the way we did. And we had Aston Villa on ropes. And for Madueke's goal, bro, that came from pressing quite high and winning the ball back quite high. And that's exactly what Poch likes, which is weird to me because I'm thinking, yo, you've had Cucurella pretty much all season. Why have you not inverted him sooner where you can actually have Gallagher pressing up a lot more? Because I don't like Gallagher in that first phase. I don't feel comfortable when he's being pressed on the ball because he's just not good on the ball. Do you know what I mean? But tactically, bro, it was spot on. And these lot, they looked a lot better. Caicedo looked like the player that, you know, that we signed, that we, the guy from Brighton. He was playing a little bit more box to box. Madueke had a very good game where he kept taking on his man. I think he got 6 successful take-ons out of 9 or something like that. Mudryk was shocking on the other side, to be fair. You know, he was grenade football the other day. But overall, we did enough to even win that game at the end. I think it was a foul. Like I said on my match reaction, this Paddy, you can't raise your arm and push a man from the back and say it's not a foul, bro. That's a blatant foul to me. And it's annoying because Rodgers was backing into him. If you just let him back into you, it's not going to be a foul if that happens. Do you know what I mean? But the moment you raise your arm and you initiate that contact, that is a blatant foul. But it's weird. It's a weird feeling, bro, because listen, before the game, I was not confident at all, man. Going to Villa Park in this deflated team, I didn't know what lineup Poch was going to pick out. I didn't know how these lot would be in front of goal. I was nervous. I actually said 3-1 to Aston Villa. Do you know what I'm saying? But listen, it's just a little too late, innit? A little too late because we didn't get the 3 points. And again, it was a good performance in the second half, but where's this been all the rest of the season? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I want to go to Will first on this. A lot of people have put 2 and 2 together. Some think they've got 4. Some think they've got 162. Do you think Enzo being out played a part? There are some Chelsea fans that believe Caicedo and Enzo can't play together. They're not a good match. How do you view it, mate?
I think that they can play together. For me, Chelsea, the squad is not as bad as what their league positioning is showing, bro. I think it's more so Pochettino. That's the problem for me. I don't think that he's gotten the best out of the players that he's gotten there. But when people talk about Chelsea, it's like as if they're just so shit. And my fault for cursing. But I'm not sure if that's the problem. I think it's the manager. I think they need a different system. But Chelsea have quality in that team. And I think, personally, they are a manager, the right manager, away from being back in that top 4, top 6 conversation, because look at how they played this season underneath Poch, who's been struggling, and yet they competed for true trophies still. So I think the whole Chelsea thing right now is just a bit overblown at the moment, and I don't think that Enzo being out is somehow why they're now playing well or why they look good against Villa. I think he is a good player, and I just think it's all blown up, if I'm being honest.
Enzo, Will, spot on, because Enzo played when we played Aston Villa last time, when we beat them in the FA Cup, and he was man of the match. He scored that free kick. He played in that game. The main difference, like I said, is we had Gallagher and Palmer pressing from the front, just like we did before. And Aston Villa, they were on ropes because we were pressing them quite high. They weren't able to get out of that press. That was the main thing. But in terms of, like I said, that first half, Gallagher and Caicedo, it was the same old nonsense. It wasn't because Enzo was missing. It's because of that tactical change where he put Cucurella in the midfield and was winning a lot more duels in the midfield. You know, we were stopping a lot more transitions. It was a little bit more condensed. Do you know what I'm saying? So that was the main difference there, man.
I want to throw this out to the panel because they were good Chelsea, but Chelsea have done well against Villa. Could this just not be a styles make fight situation? Man United have beaten Villa in 2 games this season. Chelsea have done well against them, but Arsenal, that we all know that are superior to Chelsea and Man United by a long way, have been beaten by them twice. Could this be a little bit, Henry, of a false storm for Chelsea? Maybe it's just a team where stylistically that they're coming out on top against.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely spot on. If you look at the way we played against them in both games, we played similar to the way Chelsea did in the second half, in our second half at Villa Park. and Villa couldn't deal with the press, and we absolutely battered them. You know, people will say they had a man sent off or whatever, but the way we played in the first game was completely different in terms of like Villa just set up with that offside trap, which they've got down to an absolute T, and just counterattacked us. I think if Chelsea were to play that approach throughout the majority of the season, that second half, throughout the season, they would have had a lot better season. But in terms of styles, I think the way they played, it was perfect to break down Unai Emery. Like, Unai Emery's renowned for being like having a high line in terms of offside trap and playing it very well. But it was almost like they took their foot off the gas, and then all of a sudden Chelsea woke up. And then Poch made a few tweaks. Gallagher pressed. I don't think it was Palmer's best game, by the way. I don't think it was like, I know he didn't score or whatever. No. I don't think it was I don't think he was. I think it's one of the games you could say this season where Chelsea played well and Palmer didn't contribute that much. Normally, like the caveat is Palmer's dragging Chelsea through games. So I think Chelsea played relatively well in the second half, and their main guy didn't turn up. But in terms of styles, yeah, absolutely spot on. The way Villa play, like if you press them, which a lot of teams don't necessarily do, it's almost give them time and let them build and try and win the midfield battle. But if you play like that, that's how you beat Villa, and that's exactly what Chelsea did.
Why don't we look at what actually happened with Villa's side though? They lost their goalkeeper, got injured, if I'm not mistaken, Martinez, and got changed at halftime. Also, they had a 2-goal lead. They tried to sit back and hold on to that lead. It gave Chelsea more momentum.
They did the same thing against Man United as well.
Yeah. It gave Chelsea more momentum. I'm as much as you can give Chelsea credit, you also have to give a lot of the credit. You also have to look at Unai Emery's tactics and say he got it completely wrong in the second half. Completely wrong. And if he continued to try to hold on to more possession, try to play his way, even though you don't have your best goalkeeper out there, even though you don't have your best players out there, maybe they could have got more from it. But they gave too much respect to Chelsea. They sat back and they didn't even attempt to play the ball. They had 86 passes in the second half. They're at home versus this Chelsea team. I personally think Aston Villa have a better squad than Chelsea at this moment in time, based on form and how they performed this season. But if you are sitting back against this Chelsea team, you're going to get punished. If you're sitting back against any team, eventually you're going to get punished. So they made that mistake, and I think they should have went at them.
I think you make some good points, but the only thing is, bro, like we all know Chelsea have struggled against low blocks, and like Henry has said, we're Palmer FC, and the reason why we're Palmer FC is because the team, the way we're set up most of the time, I look at a bunch of individuals that don't know what they're doing, but the way that we're set up in the second half, it allowed us to create those sort of chances and to take it to the game a little bit different. Because in that first half, Villa was sitting back, but it was perfect for them because they're like, yo, Chelsea ain't gonna break us down. They ain't got no patterns. They ain't got no, they don't drill anything in training. They don't do anything, because even you lot did the same thing at the Emirates in large parts, where you just let us have the ball because you knew that we had no idea what to do with it. Do you know what I'm saying? I think the smart thing was what Poch did. Emery should have been a little bit smarter and maybe then tried to attack us a little bit more in the second half. Then it might have been a little bit different.
So we basically.
I think in that second half, you definitely have to give Poch credit. As much as I want him out, you have to give him the credit because he realized that these lot are just sitting back and we're not really doing much with the ball. And that tweak of Cucurella allowed us to play better as a team. That's why we weren't dependent on a Cole Palmer.
But I don't think that you have to give Poch that much credit, because that's what you're supposed to do as a manager. Is you see what the other team's doing, and you're supposed to adjust. So, I mean, he's doing what his job is. So, I don't really think you should be giving people credit for that. I think it's far too late, though, by the way.
And also, it's not just giving. I mean, talking about giving Poch credit. We just said it that some things did not work out for Villa. For example, goalkeeper change. I mean, Martinez is a big part of their defense. A huge part of Aston Villa's defense. You know, the way he commands the box, the arrogance, the things that he does, his antics. I mean, Martinez is a big figure in that club as regards like the defenders. So obviously, the second goalkeeper come in and changes the way they play. Did they trust him enough? Like Martinez, now they're dropping deep as well. So Chelsea would definitely have a chance to come back into the game, because of course the Chelsea players, they're good, but I say they're not good enough. That's the truth for me. They're good, but they're not good enough. But against a team that sits back like that, they will get something. So I don't think I wouldn't say Poch, because this is not the first time Poch has tweaked something and it still didn't work. He's tweaked a few times and it still didn't work. So this time around, he just tweaked against the team that also had something against them. So you have to look at all the context and all the factors involved in the game. It's not just, Chelsea stepped up and
I think Chelsea deserve credit for the day. It's one of those things where maybe I'm looking at Chelsea a little bit how I look at my own club, Man United. One good afternoon or one good half doesn't make me really change my sort of view of them too much. It's got to become more consistent, as it were. Jonathan here says that game was exactly what it was. 2 teams competing for 4th to 8th spots. Both teams looked exactly what they are. That's probably fair. Don, does Enzo turn up in big games? Super chat for you.
Enzo's been average this season. I don't understand what this question is. I can't really say Enzo turns up in big games because he's been average.
But like, what's the hate for Enzo though? Is it just because of his price tag? Is that why people don't hate him? Because I think he's a quality player, and I think that he gets into every midfield in the Prem.
No, he doesn't.
Stop it.
He does not get into City's midfield. He doesn't get into Arsenal's midfield. He doesn't get into a lot of these midfields.
He doesn't get into Arsenal's midfield?
No, he doesn't.
He gets into United's midfield. Yo, City are sometimes starting games with Kovacic.
You said every midfield.
Yes.
Will.
He does not get into City.
Let's break this down. Let's go slowly. Let's do this properly. So, Will, who in the City team drops out for Enzo, in your opinion?
I think Kovacic starts some games. I think you could put Enzo there. I think also for Arsenal, you look at it, I think he's a better player than Jorginho. I think him next to Declan Rice would be a good double pivot. I think United.
Let's go back. Hang on. Let's go back to City for a minute. City's main midfield is what? Rodri, KDB, Foden, or Rodri, KDB, Silva. Which of those guys drops out for Enzo?
I would drop KDB.
What are we doing here?
For Enzo.
No. I
would drop KDB for Enzo.
Madness.
Yes.
Based on what? Based on what?
Bro, Kevin De Bruyne is a very overrated midfielder. I get it.
Based on what?
But when you have him, and I'll even throw Haaland in the mix, it's like City are playing with 10 or 9 men. They don't press, and all that they're good for is giving you goals, which I get that's important. But as an overall midfielder, Kevin De Bruyne, he doesn't press, he doesn't track back, and then you have Rodri, Phil Foden, Bernardo Silva, all these guys have to do extra work because of what KDB does not provide in other areas.
You don't get on City's bench.
Oh, okay, bro. But Kovacic and wait.
Enzo doesn't get on City's bench.
But Kovacic and Nunes can make City's bench, but Enzo can't.
Yes.
Okay, bro. He started at Tottenham as well.
This is exactly why I want this manager out. This is exactly why I want this manager out, because you've got people like Henry saying Enzo Fernandez doesn't make the bench at Man City. That's exactly what
make the bench at Man City.
So let's continue this, and please let Will finish what he's saying. Main reason I said that is because I want the viewers to hear what he's being said. So, who at Liverpool would you say, Paddy, your strongest midfield if everybody's fit is McCallum? Who do you say it is?
Well, I mean, Maka, Endo, Szoboszlai, but Endo's not it. I think, to be fair, I think Enzo is absolutely world class on his day, but he's been ruined by Pochettino in this Chelsea setup. I think, the guy that he was pivotal to the Argentina World Cup. So I think based on what we've seen at Chelsea, it's fair to say, oh yeah, he's shit. But I think the player that he can be in a proper system he's world class on his day, and he needs to get back there to obviously earn these moves and earn these plaudits. But yeah, I think he is absolutely exceptional as a player. I'd take him in Liverpool. He would start for Liverpool over
in a World Cup. Anyone could look amazing. Mustafi's won a World Cup, right? Giovanni,
but Endo was
impaired. What are you talking about?
Okay,
but Enzo was a big part in why Argentina won that World Cup.
Okay, so 7 games in his entire career, he turned up. Is that what we're saying? 7 games in a World Cup.
His entire career.
At the World Cup. The World Cup is 7 games.
Guys, let me ask a question, please. Based on, I think we're all saying it, but no one's asking it directly. Outside of the World Cup, when have you guys seen Enzo be world class? Genuine question.
Bro, he had a world class performance this season. He's not world class. He's not a world class. Before anyone tries to clip me up and say Enzo's world class, he's not world class. I've come on here bare times and said this guy's not world class. That performance when he played against Aston Villa when we beat them in the FA Cup was a world-class performance. You can have a world-class performance. Odegaard has had many world-class performances this season, bro. It doesn't mean he's a world-class player.
So I get that point, Don. You didn't say it. I'm kind of throwing this to Paddy because he's a world-class talent, and
he is a world-class talent.
Will puts him above. I think Will agrees with him. When have you seen him show that he's a world-class talent? That's a genuine question.
I suppose more so world-class ability. On his day, he is world-class. He's not world-class in terms of based on his Chelsea time, but his ability is world-class. I will back that for sure. And the World Cup, I mean, that's the greatest competition in football, and he was part of the greatest World Cup win ever in terms of it was Messi's actual World Cup. So I think that's what I'm basing it off, and his potential. Like, he's just been part of a putrid Chelsea side, multiple terrible managers, and he's not had a chance to flourish. But the minute Chelsea get serious and get a proper manager in there with a proper system, come back to this, and Enzo will be key to that.
This is why
drugs is not good for you. Drugs is not good for you.
Not good.
Listen, kids, listen out to everybody in the comment. Please listen.
Crazy.
Don't listen. Don't do drugs. I beg you, do not do drugs, because this is what are you guys talking about?
So Enzo's
listen. Hey,
listen.
Enzo played for Arsenal or Man City. I think that you guys are talking about Enzo very differently. If he's with a different team.
Can you stop?
No, but I want to hear his take. Let him land.
Guys, let Dao speak, please. Let Dao speak.
Can you stop? You are going to take the World Cup 7 games, right, as a yardstick. 6 months in Benfica. A player gets bought and brought to Chelsea, hasn't carried your team all season. You're going to sit here and tell me that based on if, what, and when. If he was in a different system. We haven't seen that yet. We're talking about what we have seen, though. Like, now listen. Like if you Google Enzo world-class clips on YouTube right now, you will only find World Cup stuff. You can't even find anything from Chelsea games that you can look at and be like, oh, wow, look at what Enzo did.
I'm just giving you an example.
Listen. You are talking about 1 game out of 34 games in the season. You've given me one example.
Enzo turns up on the biggest stage. That's what you're saying, right? That's what you're saying.
There is no listen. Will. My point is there is no consistency. There is no consistency with Enzo stuff. So for you to sit here and say world-class ability, meanwhile, there are players who are doing it consistently, but you say, they're not doing enough. But Enzo, who's not consistent in any way, suddenly has world-class abilities. It's mad. Enzo for KDB.
Can I just say one thing, Terry?
Don't do drugs.
I'm gonna go to Henry, and then go on, Henry.
This narrative that on his day, so does that mean Adel Taarabt, Ben Arthur, Michu were all world-class on their day because they could turn up in football matches? Does that mean because Eric Dyer was man of the match against Arsenal in the Champions League semi-quarter-final, he's now world-class? Enzo doesn't get in any team in the top 10 and does not definitely get on Man City's bench. It is insanity. The guy is a 35 to 40 million pound player who had 7 good games in a World Cup, is now worth 100 million. If you even look at his Benfica days when he played in a double pivot, he wasn't even the best one in a double pivot. Like, you can say, because of a manager, we have only got the sample size to judge him in the Premier League under Pochettino.
No, right? Last season as well. What are you talking about?
Right, okay. This season, we can only judge him off Pochettino. You can judge him on last season.
Is that some good performances this year, bro? One where Jamie Carragher done a whole 4-minute monologue talking about him when we played Liverpool, bro. Ask Paddy about that
game of the season.
We will see.
You got Dio saying there's no examples. You give him just one example from the Villa game. Then he starts telling you 1 out of 38. 1 out of 38.
Yeah,
you're moving the goalposts.
I'm gonna jump in just because there's a lot of shouting over each other. I want to do some of these super chats on this subject and respect the viewers here. 60 million down the drains. Okay, we'll come back to the Kai Havertz stuff later. Sorry. Did you know in Enzo's first 3 months at Chelsea, he averaged more progressive passes per 90 minutes than any player in the Premier League? Enzo hate is so clear. Chelsea fell for the World Cup cap with Enzo, the same as Real Madrid did with James Rodriguez. Just take your losses as they did and move on, is what Mo Gunner says here. The best one of those I ever saw was at Liverpool with El Hadj Diouf. That man looked world class at the World Cup in 2002. I was so gutted when Liverpool got him. We need to stop using the term world class. And in fairness, Garrett, to Paddy, he didn't say he was world. He said world class talent, and that's why I had to go back and readdress the question because people they heard the word world class and everyone's ears stopped working with cognitive dissonance. He's nowhere near world class. Enzo Fernandez.
No way.
He's nowhere near it. What does Enzo have over KDB? I'm intrigued. That's to you, Will.
My fault. I had my mic muted. So my main issue with De Bruyne is that I don't think that he adds much outside of assists. That's my problem with him. And I think when you watch City play, you got all the other midfielders and attackers, except for Haaland. They have to do more work because KDB is not pressing. He's not doing much. So it's like, for me, I think Enzo is a better overall player than Kevin De Bruyne. I'm not saying that he is, in terms of goals and assists, he puts up those same level of performances. But I guess that's all that we care about. But I think if you just put Enzo like in a different system, I think he performs a lot better. You have him with Arteta and how Arsenal play. You put him in this Man City squad. You put him in any team that actually has a better style of play that are more progressive, except for Chelsea. I think that we talk about him a lot differently. But because he costs so much money, it's like he's just garbage and trash all of a sudden because he's playing with players who aren't as good.
Will, I agree with you when you say he would play better at another team, but to say you would have him over KDB is kind of crazy to me. I get your
as a
point
midfielder, like I'd rather have him like in my midfield.
No, but what Enzo Fernandez, maybe will track back. Maybe he'll give you a little more passes. But who's going to win you a game? Who's going to contribute to helping you win a game? Kevin De Bruyne. Let's be honest. Enzo Fernandez has been in the Premier League for almost 2 years now. Why am I saying 2 years? A year and a half, right? So when you look at the amount of games he's actually contributed to victories, amount of times his team has won off the back of his performances, it's minimal. Where Kevin De Bruyne, he's a match winner week in, week out. And I'm not talking about GA. He performs throughout the game.
But let me ask you a question, though. Kevin De Bruyne performs that well because of what? The system that Pep has put around him. It covers up his deficiencies. What do Chelsea do to cover up Enzo's deficiencies?
Bro, but if Enzo Fernandez, one second, if Enzo Fernandez was as good as you say he is, maybe he could at least win a couple games off his own back. He doesn't.
But it's not that simple.
That's incorrect. That's
Well,
incorrect.
Exactly. But this is not a 1v1 sport. This is a box game. There's 10 other guys out there with you that also have to do their job.
This is the thing, though. Look, I understand sort of people's views, and KDB isn't renowned for his defensive actions in a team, but at the same time, that's obviously, I just don't see that being his instruction. I'm not too sure about Phil Foden when Phil Foden's played in his position this season, but I don't suppose Phil Foden has particularly high defensive actions for City either, and that's for me is an instruction in my personal opinion because of the position that he plays in. But what Kevin De Bruyne does have and has done consistently is the ability to win games, as an example. And there are different types of midfield players that are needed. For me, if you look at the City system, if you took away KDB for Enzo, where the fuck is the creativity and goals going to come from? Suddenly you're going to have a team that can progress the ball, win it back defensively. Go on.
So you asked me, who would I drop? I think the options were Rodri, Phil Foden, KDB. I think, obviously, if you replace, let's say, Enzo for KDB, right? Obviously, that's not going to work because he's not a 10 or he can't play in that kind of role as well as what KDB can. But I think if you put Phil Foden there and then you put Enzo, you drop him a little bit deeper with Rodri, I think City will be just fine. Yeah. Like, if I'm Man City, I cash in on Kevin De Bruyne this summer. I sent him to Saudi, and you go bring in like a Jamal.
I understand that a little bit more now. I thought you did it when it was Bernardo Silva and Rodri in the middle. Because if Bernardo was very good, but if you suddenly take out KDB or someone's I know they've got creativity from the wings, but you need that creativity in the middle. You need goals from the middle. You'd lose so much if you lost him. You really, really would. Don, I know you've got to shoot, bro. I appreciate you coming on, mate, and having your say. And we'll chat again soon, brother. Top man. Thank you. Obviously, Staffy has joined us on the show. Top man. A few more super chats here before we move on to the North London derby. As a United fan, would take KDB over Enzo all day. The team has more chances created with KDB on his day. He can win you the game. I'll just run KDB and Enzo Fernandez through, I think it's a data MB with another midfield player. I'm going to put a screenshot up soon and see if everyone can guess which player is who and which one you would like to sign. Just that's obviously based purely on stats, but it's an interesting read. James Rodriguez was great in 2014. Yeah, I don't know. KDB carried Wolfsburg to their first big trophy. He was class. Fabio, Vieira, and Fernandez feel like the same level. I don't know about that. I haven't seen enough of I haven't seen enough of Vieira play, to be honest with you.
I think Bruno Fernandes is still, way better than him. There's talent in Fabio, but yeah, Bruno Fernandes still has
Did you say
more.
Bruno Fernandes or Enzo Fernandez? I might have said
That was Enzo, not Bruno.
Yeah, I might have said Bruno. Sorry. Cole Palmer is in the same team as Bozo Enzo and still performs better than him. The best players will always perform regardless of the system. Enzo is a Bozo and should probably play in the squad. Do you know what I would say? I don't think there's any issue with
that. Couldn't be more wrong.
My view with Enzo right now, and it could be the hernia. I don't know if he's got the physicality for the Premier League. He looks for me when I watch him play half a yard too slow. And like he's not up for the fight. And
Terry, Son had a hernia operation at the end of last season and still got 16 GA last year. So like this,
can we make more direct comparisons? Because this super chat, listen, respect to the super chat, but comparing Cole Palmer, who is a final third player who is meant to get GA because that's a part of his game, versus a controller. I say this every time. I'm so sick of people talking about Enzo. I don't even rate him that highly. But every time GA is being mentioned around a controller, it's such a disingenuous.
You look at his performances, though. Like
no. Henry, this is why I don't rate him highly. I rate him. I don't rate him highly, especially for the Premier League. But I'm so tired of people saying he's supposed to go win a game. I'm sorry, but that's not his job. Like, this is why when Will was saying, if you put him in a better system that covers his deficiencies like these other players, he will thrive in a system. That super chat that just came in said a brilliant player will thrive regardless of the system. I don't agree with that. Only a few players can look individually good regardless of the system. Because I'll tell you what, and I keep making this comparison, Pogba used to outshine our midfield in a shit system, but he still used to get criticism because we didn't used to win games. He used to fall a victim to GA as well, even though he was never a GA player. He was that player that gets the ball from the first third to the final third and make something happen. Enzo is that, but just on a lower level.
Staffy. Enzo and Menu. Let's do that comparison. You tell me they both play right. They're supposed to be playing similar roles, right? Menu is supposed to be doing what Enzo is doing in a shit Man U team this season.
Yeah, but that's why I rate Menu more.
No. That's what I'm saying. So I'm giving you the same scenario now. In a shit Chelsea team this season, Enzo. In a shit Man U team this season, Menu. Both of them.
You do know our midfield always gets dominated every game.
Hold on. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying both teams are shit. Chelsea's midfield also gets dominated a lot of times. I'm saying we see Menu perform though. We've seen him perform because you can tell that the talent is in there.
Yeah, so Staffy, I don't know if you this conversation came up because Will stated.
That's all I'm saying.
Oh yeah, because it gets into every single team, and I think no one really brought up GA per se in our conversation on the show. I don't necessarily think. I think when people say win games, I think they're talking more about dictate the play. I do agree the system hasn't helped Enzo. I've been highly critical of it. I want to try and move past this because we've got to get onto some other subjects. This here says Enzo doesn't press, control games, or assist. Big up, guys.
I love that one. That super chat saying he doesn't control games. That's the criticism he should be having because we did that last week, Terry. I forgot what game it was when he had less touches than Palmer and Caicedo, and we said that game he should have had more than the touches that he had. That is fair criticism. Criticizing him for GA is not his job.
Big up, guys. KDB, Salah, and now Havertz, etc. were all bad at Chelsea, and now they have matured. Give Enzo time. It's a fair point. Ganda, not good for Ganja. I think he means he's not good for kids. I don't even like KDB, but this does this thing. But he does things that no one else. My guy Trent Alexander-Arnold. Terry, bring us Spurs. Will, this one is broken. I mean, the other wheel is broken at the minute. He predicted that Spurs a few weeks ago. He said Spurs would finish in front of Arsenal. What is it? 20 points. Clueless fans think because of a good World Cup player is world class. No one actually said that, bro. Enzo wasn't even a standout player at Benfica. Oh, I thought he was because I watched him at Benfica. I thought he was very, very good there, to be fair with you. A World Cup is a terrible place to compare talent. The sample size is too small and many games are decided on who ran harder and wanted it more. Ruben here says delusional. Most players at Chelsea are crap because they are at the wrong club and not developed properly. Peace from South Africa. Thank you very much, Ruben. So Lampard is not meant to score because he's a controller. Okay.
Lampard was a controller. Lampard was the most advanced one in the midfield. He was a box crasher. That's why he got all that GA.
Yeah. Fine. Replace Jorginho with Cole Palmer. Same result. Enzo is a bozo, like it or not. When will Chelsea fans admit they overpaid for their players? And besides I think he means PSG, where many coaches have fouled not to their fault, but due to the player power. Where did Poch become a bad coach? Let's think about it. I mean, that remains to be seen.
Never been a good coach. Poch has always been overrated. Most overrated manager ever. I don't know how he keeps scamming these jobs. He lives off that Spurs time, and realistically, he didn't.
I personally think Chelsea's a poison chalice, and it's a place where most people.
How is he an overrated manager when he literally thrived? Yes, he didn't win a trophy. Let's get that hoodoo out of the way. But
case closed. Then
you're literally surviving on a zero budget. We didn't sign a player for nearly 600 days and got into a Champions League final. Yes, we didn't turn up. But he's not yes, anyone can win a title at PSG, right? Unai Emery's done it, Tuchel's done it, whoever. So I'm not looking at that. But he was not a complete and utter failure at Spurs.
Didn't Poch not even win the title though? I swear he bottled the title.
He won it in the second year.
Did he? Oh, we bottled it to what? Lille, was it? Or one of the years?
Yeah, I think it was Lille or Monaco. But he's time at Spurs.
I'll challenge your point, Paddy. I think he's a good. Generally, he's been a good coach. I don't think he's a good manager. That's my view.
Yeah, he needs to be part of like Pep's backroom team or something. He's just not that guy out and out on his own.
Yeah, he'd be phenomenal at that.
Can we admit though, Chelsea's not a healthy environment for incoming managers or players at this moment in time?
Mate, Chelsea is like, I can't even begin to imagine the shit show that they're in and what's coming. The amount of guys they have there on 8-year deals. Tell me if you're handed an 8-year contract, right, at anywhere with guaranteed millions, what motivation do you then have to go and perform? Like, these guys are like, mate, Caicedo has secured a generational wealth for his family for generations. He doesn't give a shit. He's just going to stroll around London. He's chilling. He's like, todo bien, hermano. He doesn't give a shit, you know. He's chilling. Like, so Chelsea's just a shit show. And again, it is nice to see. I always say I do pray on the Chelsea downfall.
Continue.
Yeah, absolutely. They're the original oil club. I despise them with a passion.
They are the original oil club. Look, viewers, make sure you're hitting the like and the share button. Remember, today we are sponsored by our friends at Match Bingo. It's one of the best games to play. You've only got a few more game weeks this season to do it. That's actually my card from the weekend. I was so close to getting a full house. It was crazy. But the first person to get one line, the first person to get 2 lines, or the first person to get a full house wins cash prizes for all Premier League, Champions League, and Championship games as well. They also have cards for darts and cricket if you also watch those sports. You can scan the QR code now that's going to be on the screen, or click on the link below to sign up to Match Bingo. Obviously, the weekend saw the North London derby come and go, and it was an epic game. And I think if you're a neutral, it would have been really fun to watch. Arsenal stormed into the lead. There was controversy with penalties not given. Somehow, Spurs got back into it in the second half with 2 sort of gifts, really, from Arsenal. But it ended with Arsenal winning, 20-point gap over their local rivals. The title race still being alive. I'm going to go to Henry first on this one. Arsenal humbled a lot of Tottenham fans really at the weekend. You saw in the opening video we did, a lot of Spurs fans thought they were going to turn up and do something.
Yeah, look, you can play back my thing from Thursday. I wasn't particularly confident going in. I think Arsenal set up correctly. I don't think this was Arsenal's best performance. I just think they got their game plan bang on. Exploit how poor we are from set pieces. We've conceded 9 goals from set pieces in the last 6 games. We've kept 2 clean sheets since the 15th of December. But you can talk about whether it's tactics or personnel. We are not great in defense right now. But I also think Ange set the team up wrong. I don't know why you started Son up front when you're coming up against the best defense in the league at the moment. Son's not a physical presence. It was no coincidence when we brought Richarlison on more. Gabriel and Saliba were struggling a little bit more. I thought Brennan Johnson should have started. He's the only winger at the football club at the moment, whether he's trash or whatever you think. He's the only winger that actually likes running at the fullback. And as soon as he come on, he was beating Tomiyasu. Whether his delivery met the man or not is a different argument, but he was actually beating the fullback. In terms of the midfield, Højbjerg, Bentancur, and Maddison, it's another James Maddison disaster class. Since his injury, he has been nowhere near the level, like absolutely nowhere near the level. Arsenal just exploited Tottenham at their weaknesses. Since the FA Cup game against Manchester City, we have conceded more goals from set pieces than anyone in the league, and that's excluding penalties. We are absolutely horrendous from corners. There's about 10 screenshots on Twitter. We're just standing there in a line, and all the Arsenal players are at the back post. Son's standing on the penalty spot, looking at the players. Why are you not further up to potentially start a counter-attack? But the minute all of a sudden, I don't know what happened on the 60th minute, Romero goes up front. Like, I don't know. I have no idea what happened. But I don't, that's not a good sign. Like, I think Ange Postecoglou is not I think he's not an empowerment manager. I think if you look at the way we play, you look at our average positions of the fullbacks are higher up the pitch at times than the number 9 is. Like, it almost
high line, Mike. It's the high line. It's the high line, Mike.
You've got to make, if we play like this next season and don't make tactical tweaks, like
Henry, can I interrupt you and ask you this question? I've listened to 2 or 3 Spurs fans call in to talk sport. I've read a few articles today where people are asking the question: has Postecoglou and his system been found out? More goals conceded than Manchester United.
Yeah,
the weaknesses being exploited, but still, what seems to be coming from the Postecoglou camp and a lot of Spurs fans is this is our way and we're not changing. Do you think maybe, just maybe, the Premier League clubs have worked him out now?
See, I'm on the fence with this because I think if you can also obviously say in a hypothetical, if we had better players to fit the system, he wouldn't be found out, because I don't think our defense, like, it's the best defense we've had since Poch. But we're absolutely horrendous. Like, we are leaking goals galore. Like, we've had less clean sheets than anyone in the league other than Sheffield United since December. So on that basis, you can say we've been found out. But we've also scored a hell of a lot more goals than anyone in the league other than the top 4. So on that basis, have we been, like, in terms of the way you play against us, you just sit back and counter-attack. If you've got an aerially dominant forward or defender, you will score a goal. Because we are absolutely horrendous at set pieces. So on the balance of it, yes, you could say we have been found out. But I think if we don't fix dropping the high line by 5 yards and getting a number 6 you can actually defend, because at one point we had Bissouma playing centre-back and Romero up front. Like, that's not a good look. You do that in the 85th minute when there's 1 goal in the game and you're chasing it. Not when you're 3-0 down at home. Like, can anyone name me another performance in the Premier League where your centre-back has gone up front with 35 minutes to play?
And what's crazy is Raya made the mistake to kick the ball to it. If Raya plays the right pass, suddenly you've got a massive hole at the back. It was very fortuitous. Will, when I asked a question about Postecoglou, you sort of nodded your head. Do you feel like he's been found out in the Prem?
Yeah, he's awful. He's an awful manager. To me, I can't rate you if you don't know how to make in-game adjustments. If when plan A isn't working, you don't have a plan B. And I think he's real stubborn. So to me, I get that people, the style of football that he plays, it's entertaining. It's nice to watch. But I just don't think that he is as good as a lot of Tottenham fans are trying to make him out to be. Because as a manager, you need to be able to adjust. Like, every manager in world football that people rate highly, like Pep, Carlo Ancelotti, they all have plan Bs. So I'm just trying to figure out who does Ange Postecoglou think he is to not have a plan B. And that's why you're going to see Tottenham throughout the season get 4 or 5 goals put past them, because once their system's not working against a certain team, he doesn't know what to do. So it just piles on. But to me, he's not that good of a manager. But I think Tottenham fans are just happy to see good football because they don't have nothing else to
and to listen to his press conference after the game and to basically dismiss the corners as an issue. He's saying, "Oh, maybe if I knew this was going to be the difference, I would have spent more time in training." Well, he should know you guys are bad at defending corners. And also he should know there's a height difference between the Arsenal players and the Spurs players. You don't have too many tall players. We have a lot of 6-foot players, and it's going to definitely hurt you when Vicario himself is the 16th worst in the league when it comes to coming and claiming crosses. So right there, not only is your goalkeeper a problem, your setup for corners is a problem, and your manager doesn't seem to be interested in addressing it, because the way he spoke about it afterwards was super dismissive.
My question would be, if he comes and says, "Oh, Højbjerg did bad at the front post," or the set pieces are absolutely horrendous, then he's doing exactly what Conte and Jose did and throwing players under the bus.
That's not what I'm saying. He didn't acknowledge that was an issue beforehand.
Oh yeah, I agree. He hasn't. Yeah, He's
Yeah,
completely neglected it.
you had 15 days to prepare for Arsenal set pieces. You know we're the best set piece team statistically at this point in the season in Premier League history. Actually, like we're two set pieces away from having the most set pieces scored for a single team in a Premier League campaign. So this guy should have known that, and it's an absolute joke.
This is why I was calling for Dragushin to play, because he's the only defender who can win an aerial duel. But the problem is because Udogi's injured, the only logical reason would be to put Van der Ven left back or Emerson Royale, and we saw how many times Van der Ven recovers the ball. Like if Van der Ven didn't start that game, Arsenal would have had 3 more goals. Because
you want to know something? You have more issues than just that. I personally think. I personally think you guys make a lot of mistakes. At times your players make a lot of individual errors leading up to some of these goals. I've seen it throughout the whole season. Your structure at times for set pieces, not only set pieces but in defense, your structure when in your own box, you guys don't have that set structure defensively. And the last thing is you're very, very poor in the final third. Son is your best finisher. Outside of that, everyone else is not clinical. So you guys, with Harry Kane and Son, you guys had that get out of jail free card. You had 2 players who could get you out of jail. Now you only have 1. You're still scoring a lot of goals. You're still fun football to watch, but you're very, very open in all these games and very susceptible and beatable. So I personally think Ange Postecoglou, if he doesn't change his ways or at least have another way of playing throughout the game when you're winning, you guys are gonna keep other teams in the game no matter what.
Can I just say this, right? I think Ange's biggest issue is he doesn't have the players, the right players. Let me use the word the right players. The style that Ange is playing, right? Honestly, if he had the right players to play that, like if he had center backs who were quick, who were fast. I mean, of course, Van der Ven is just one. And if both of them were quick, fast, calm, like they know exactly what they're doing, they can play that high line and they would cause problems for a lot of teams. You drop the ball behind them, they recover the ball, they start the press again. He doesn't have the players to play it. And that's the truth. Like if you look at them, you can see what he's trying to do, but you can tell that these players, their capacity is up to maybe here. And he needs capacity that is like all the way up here.
I think that's
one of the major things. Now, I think as a coach,
I think that's disingenuous.
No, hold on. I think as a coach and as a manager, what he's doing is he's trying to impress his style, regardless of the players that he has, so that when he then says to the owners, hopefully, I'm just thinking as a coach and as a manager, saying, okay, well, I'll impress my style. I'll show them that look, this style could work if I get the right people. You see what I'm doing right now? You see how hard it is for me to do with these players? I want this guy out, this guy out, this guy out, and I want these type of players. And if they give him his players, and then in the next season he's not able to perform, then we can start to call him out.
Like, not like where Klopp and Arteta at the beginning of their reigns didn't have the personnel.
Yeah, I don't think personnel is the problem. I think even with more quality, you still need to be able to manage games to a point where when your team is up, you need to be able to see out the game. The way he plays, he keeps teams in the game because you're always susceptible to one ball over the top. You're always susceptible to a set piece. You're always susceptible defensively.
But that's what I'm saying.
The structure defensively is non-existent.
That's what I'm saying. If you didn't have the right players, the structure defensively would work because they're quick to recover.
Yeah, I agree. I get what Will and Miguel are saying here. No, I get what they're saying as well, Dale. I get what you're saying as well. But how many? The problem is with a lot of managers. Me and Staffy went through this on Saturday because I like how De Zerbi plays football. I know they're not performing very well at the minute, but you look at the injuries they've got, plus the players they had to sell. It is a genuine excuse. The problem is with De Zerbi's and Postecoglou's is I think they play one way. They're not like. This is where Arteta gets a lot of credit this year. You've seen him adjust and adapting in game and before games to win certain matches. A lot of managers in the modern era don't want to do that. They want to play one style. So they need a certain, not just a first 11, they need a certain squad with certain capabilities throughout. The question is, how many of those individual players to fill a squad are actually available to get you through a season to generate success? Because you're going to have injuries and you're going to have suspensions. And how many can actually do what Pep's team do, where they play one style of football, 50-odd games in a season, irrespective of injuries and suspensions and rotation. The fact that there's only a handful of teams that can even do it tells me there isn't enough players in the world to even create a squad that can do that. So that's what I would say would be, again, it's a genuine question mark over Postecoglou. over a De Zerbi going into a football club. Yes, with more money being spent and backing, they should improve further. But are they going to be able, in the end, to get over the line if you don't quite have if you don't have the best squad in your league? Are you going to come a cropper? That's my thing. Right? We're nitpicking here because we're talking about teams that spend enough money where they should all be challenging theoretically for the Premier League. Sorry, over to you, Steffi.
No, I was going to say you're spot on there because that's what me and you exactly said the other day when we were talking about De Zerbi. I don't see a scenario where United are going to have the best 11 in the league, which is why I don't want him. You could say the same thing about Ange. By the way, I think everyone made a very correct point. Even I know your points were the opposite, like Dayo and Igal, but you guys made very good points. Dayo basically is trying to say that right now, and this is my opinion as well, Ange is trying to get the Spurs team to walk before he could teach them how to run. And that is the correct way because what's his name did the same thing. Klopp, if you guys remember, he finished 8th the first season, but he implemented the Genging press style of football that he wanted to play, high intensity, leaving a lot of room in the back. And eventually, when it clicked and he got the right 11, they start competing and picked up a few trophies on the way. Where Igal, Henry, and Will are correct, and this is where I stand as well. I don't rate a manager when they don't have tactical flexibility. There's always a low ceiling to you as a manager when you can play one style and one style only. The one thing that made Pep great is Pep every season he's innovative. He innovates something new into his system. He's never, when you compare this City to the most dominant Barca team he had, there's a lot of similarities, yet there's a lot of differences. Arteta's starting to catch up on that because Arteta in the first 4 years, when you look at year 1 versus year 4, year 5, whatever he is, you can see that he's learned along the way. Unfortunately for him, Pep is still around, so it's not really showing it in terms of trophies. At the end of the day, Ange, he could get a very good 11 better than this one, but as I said, there's no scenario, in my opinion, and I think Henry will tell you the same thing. He's been a Spurs fan his whole life. He's never gonna live in an era where Spurs have approximately the best 11 in the league. It's just not going to happen. By the way, none of us will. I think this era of Pep and Fergie, because Fergie used to be like that as well, where most of us have, I would say, at least 8 or 9 players that are the best in the league in their positions. That's the only way you can play that style of football. There's always going to be a low ceiling when you're doing that at Spurs, because at some point, you're probably not going to have the best goalkeeper in the league, maybe one of the best. You're not going to have the best striker in the league, one of the best. You're not going to have the best center-back partnership in the league, but probably one of the best. You're not going to be Pep, basically is what I'm trying to say. You're not going to have players that about 8 or 9 of them are the best in their position in the league. So you need to have tactical adaptability. When he goes up in games and he's whatever, and you and still covering 40 of his own half for 90 minutes, I mean, at some point, Van de Ven is going to break down again, because as amazing as he is.
You see him hold his calf.
That's what I'm trying to say, Henry.
It's got about 3 games left before it gives way.
100% every time. By the way, because he's built for how fast he is, he actually is a big player. Like, he shouldn't, for his size, he should be running that fast. It just looks wrong when you see him. It looks like you build him on EAFC. You just maxed out all the speed
with 99 pace.
It just makes no sense for you to run that fast. That's why every time he runs, you're like, this doesn't look right. It's just not coordinated with his body. So eventually, he will break down again. For you to play that way, you need to have a backup to Van de Ven who plays very similar to him, because he will break down about 2-3 times a season. And if he does it miraculously, this guy's probably going to be putting the biggest stats at the end of the season in terms of yards covered on the pitch. I guarantee you, if he plays a full 38 season next 38 game next season, you will see that no one covered more yardage than him. He just runs too much.
And the thing is that you can't keep sprinting like that in football, and your hamstrings and other muscles not go. It's crazy level intensity.
Imagine that combined with Champions League football as well, Terry. Imagine they're playing Europa or Champions League.
Europa or Champions League next year. There's a comment that came in a minute ago. I can't find it now, that says that we shouldn't be judging Ange now, but he's won everywhere that he's been. And I can't talk for what teams he managed in Australia and in Japan for how big those teams are. But if we just look at Scotland, which is the biggest level he managed at before the Premier League,
the Australian national team, and they did very well.
Okay, so he's done well there. But of course, you're picking Australia.
Yeah, so is what you.
Yeah, I mean, again, Australia are one of the best teams though, and best funded nations in where they play in terms of the oceanic They've actually moved it. They're away from that now.
I think they play in the Asia Cup.
They play in Asia, but they're one of the better teams in that, right? And they're very well funded. He went to Scotland, went to Celtic. Well, I'm not going to say which one's bigger because I'll trigger people, but one of the biggest two teams in Scotland. He hasn't done that when he's come to England. If he took over and become the Man City manager, he would have the ability to build the best team in the world,
or even Liverpool.
He went. I said maybe Liverpool, but the thing with Liverpool and Man United, what you've got to remember, you just got to look at the way the clubs at their best have always been run. They're not typically teams that go out and go, right, we're going to buy the best players in the world. Real Madrid kind of do that. Man City has sort of put themselves into that position. Our clubs have always been more along the lines of, look, we're going to go and buy this 21-year-old who looks like he could become a world-class player. That's how those clubs have typically speaking operated, and that's fine still. But if you've got a manager that isn't like a Fergie, who can go, right, I'm going to change it today and I'm going to stick a man marker on Hazard to stop him from playing. Are you going to have enough to get over the line? And that's where it comes down to at the end of the day. This is where I stop judging football based on how nice it looks. And are you going to be able to get over the line? And by the way, those question marks exist over people like Arteta, who's doing very well at the minute. There comes a point where he's got to win. But the question is, will Ange even get Spurs into a position to be able to win with how he's playing? And it's a great question for the viewers. We'd love to get your views, love to get your opinions on that as well. When it comes to Arsenal, when it comes to Arsenal yesterday, we obviously did a huge match reaction on it. I think it lasted like an hour and 40 minutes. In terms, I want to speak about some individual players, unless there's specific subjects the Gooners on here want to speak about. But I wanted to speak about Kai Havertz to begin with.
Yeah.
He scored another match-winning goal that's kept Arsenal in the title race. I thought his overall performance yesterday was top-notch. And, of course, then all the videos come out of different creators that laughed at this transfer. And I don't know about everybody on this panel. I put my hands up. I thought it was a stinker of a signing for Arsenal. Most people criticised it. Do you feel, Dio, that Kai Havertz has now proven everybody wrong and he is a fully fledged Arsenal player now and for the future?
I think he is. I think he's proved people wrong. I was indifferent about the signing. I wouldn't say I didn't like it because I'd seen him at Bayern Leverkusen, and at Chelsea, I just kind of felt like there was something missing with him. And after the Granit Xhaka incident, where we saw what Arteta did with Granit Xhaka, I saw what he did with Raheem Sterling in Man City, Leroy Sané, and I was like, you know what? If this guy can turn Xhaka into the beast that he is, let's see what he does with Havertz. That was where I stood, and I'm glad that he's come good because, man, dude, he scored what is it, 13 goals, 6 assists already this season. He's bested his any Chelsea record he's had at Chelsea. He's looking more like the player from Bayern Leverkusen that Chelsea wanted him to be. So I think he has proved people wrong. And of course, Arteta has got some bad signings he's made, but I've seen him transform players, and so for me, I just trust his judgment when he gets someone. I'm like, you know why you're getting him, you know what the reasons are, you know how you want to use him. I mean, I've had people tell me, oh, but you guys bought him to be a midfielder. I'm like, yeah, Bukayo Saka was a left back, so should we not translate him to a better position if we feel he's better there? So even if we bought him as a midfielder and we're using him as a center forward, it doesn't matter to me. Bottom line is Kai Havertz has shut everybody up. 65 million down the drain. Kai Havertz scores again. Samina, waka waka, So for all of the haters out there, that's it. Like
this club cannot win the league, man. Please, for the love of God, these Arsenal fans cannot.
This is why
you'd rather Man City win.
You see, Kai Havertz.
Hold on.
Kai Havertz tweeted that thing of like the AI edit when it's on the stage. Hold on. There's a jarring set of fans, man.
Paddy, this club cannot win the league because I'm bigging up Kai Havertz for what he's done. And I'm singing about it.
No, because what you did after you stop acting like you don't know what you just did.
That's Havertz celebration. I didn't do something. That's celebration,
cringe, bro. James Charles, man.
Listen, when we were doing the suey all over the place when we signed Ronaldo, you guys couldn't stand it.
You guys, look,
hang on a minute, Paddy. You support a team where wasn't this a celebration?
Exactly.
Yeah, that's because Tongan tried to like hurt him. What is this, bro? You look more Mickey Mouse or
by
something.
the way, what is the celebration? What does it mean, by the way?
He's making fun of the people who mock him.
He's like, you mock me. Yeah, it's cool. I'm
That's
still
the bad
here.
celebration. I'm not gonna
Yeah,
lie.
whatever.
No aura,
whatever.
no aura
Hey,
whatsoever.
listen, everyone's got their own
No
celebration, right?
It's trash. You gotta work on it.
Well, let me just say this.
Listen, look, sorry, before you go, I don't care what people think about his celebration. The point is, people already crashed on this guy. No, hold on. People already crashed on this guy and said he's going to fail. He's a bad signing. He's not going to do well. He's going to be horrible for Arsenal. He's the reason why Arsenal is not going to be challenging for the title. Because Arteta keeps trying to shoehorn him into the Arsenal midfield. That's why Arsenal was not performing in the first half of the season. I can go on and 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 on about everything that everybody said about him. And at the end of the season, with 3-4 games to go, he's on a literally 19 GA. And everyone's like, okay, he's looking more like the player from Leverkusen that Chelsea signed and Chelsea wanted. More, so why shouldn't when I'm talking about him, big him up? Because he shut everybody up.
You definitely should big him up.
Hold on. My point is, and then so at 65 million, I don't think he's paid us back yet. I will not say he's paid us back, but I am glad that it did not fail because 1, it's good for Arteta. 2, it's good for Kai Havertz. 3, it's good for my club. There's less talk that people can come and say, oh, after all, your manager signed someone and it didn't work. So that is out the window. And if his celebration annoys you, I'm going to keep doing it because he's my boy and I rock with him.
I'm not going to lie. I have no idea what you're trying to make, like the point you're trying to make.
But
I really,
I mean,
he talked so much and I don't know what we're taking out of this. Like, are you just saying you're happy that he's scoring?
I'm bigging up he asked me how I feel about Kai, and I'm bigging up my boy. And the minute I celebrate, everyone said, "Oh, Dio, well, this is why we don't want you to win the trophy." I don't care.
Yeah, because it's jarring, but it's fair enough. You deserve to do that. It's okay. You're an Arsenal fan. You're allowed to do it.
Will, what was your take on the Kai Havertz situation?
Yeah, so I think, look, Kai Havertz, he's definitely performed well for Arsenal this season, but I still think that he was a waste of money because if Arsenal are to be at their best, which I think next season, you guys need a striker. So the fact that you brought up that Arsenal bought him to play in midfield when he's not good there, and he is good as a striker, and I know that he's, what you said, 13 goals, that's fantastic. But Arsenal still need to go into the summer market and get another striker. So if you want to be honest, you spent 65 million on a player that's going to sit on the bench if you go get an Ivan Toney or another proper number 9. So
what's wrong with that?
Let me just speak for a second. So your point on why we shouldn't have got Kai Havertz is because we're going to improve our squad next season and he's just going to be still part of the squad.
No. No.
So,
I'm not saying that Arsenal should have not bought Kai Havertz, but what I'm saying is
let me bring it back. Let me bring it back 1 second.
Let
me bring it back 1 second. Has Kai Havertz not contributed to us winning games this season and being in the position we're in this season?
Yeah, sure.
So then how is he a waste of money?
Because I think that you guys overpaid for him. I just explained it. You guys overpaid for him.
You can make a signing and improve on them next season and improve the
Okay.
squad next season. Sorry, I don't want to cut you off. Go ahead.
No. Go ahead, bro.
So you have to realize
you can improve the squad and you can make a signing and then next season improve the squad and that player can still be part of the squad and be a big part of that squad. It doesn't mean it's a waste of a signing. Understand that when you're improving your team year in, year out, just because you have Riyad Mahrez or Bernardo Silva doesn't mean you don't go and sign another player for City. But Arsenal do it, all of a sudden it's a problem. Why is it an issue?
Not a problem. It's not a problem.
Your squad? I don't see an issue with that.
It's not a problem.
That's what you made it seem.
No, my problem with Kai Havertz is his price that he costs because for 3 years 3-4 years at Chelsea didn't do that much and they didn't really lose any money on him from selling to Arsenal. That's my issue, is that the money that you guys paid for him was too much. That's all. But
hold on. Understand that the player's performance is what I'm talking about. You're talking about the money. There's players out here that cost way more than Kai Havertz that have been performing worse than him. For example, Enzo Fernandez. And you were just picking him up. For example, Enzo Fernandez, and you were just picking him up. So going back to price, why is it all of a sudden Enzo Fernandez is better than Kevin De Bruyne? But when Kai Havertz is performing for his team week in, week out, his price tag is not good, even though it's way less than Enzo Fernandez.
And here's the thing. Here's the thing, right? People just want to stick to their narrative. At the very beginning, it was 65 million is too much for Kai because he's not a good player. Then Kai starts to perform, but now they can't come to bring themselves to say, you know what? Maybe you guys saw something in him and that's why you paid what you thought his value was and where you're trying to take him to. Remember this, Kai Havertz is 24 years old, first and foremost. He's not a 27, 28, 29 going on 30.
And he's having his best season.
Hold on. He's having his best season so far in England ever since he's come to England under Mikel Arteta at Arsenal. So if the price tag is what you don't like, but the player is performing, that begs the question: what about teams like City who have 100 million Grealish sitting on the bench? If we decide to upgrade our striker next year and have Kai Havertz, a 13 goals, 6 assists a season player on the bench, is that not a good thing to have? We have a Leandro Trossard coming off the bench to give us 10 goals and 5 assists. That's a good thing to have on the bench. If you want to challenge for trophies and you really want to be the best, that's how you build. And then another thing you have to realize is when we were buying players last season, we'd spent 105 on Declan Rice. We'd spent 30-something million already on Timber, Julian Timber. We had to stay within the FFP rules, and we thought, okay, well, what player do we want that is versatile enough, can play in midfield, can play center forward. We can use him. We know what we're going to do with him. And then next season, when we're going to get more players, we can get somebody better and we can get people out. And that's how
let me get a say.
What's wrong with that?
Hold on, let me get a say on this.
Let me get a Staffy on this. Go on, Staffy.
Yeah, let me get a say on this. And I want to issue this question to Dio. But Dio, so understand this question in isolation, okay? Because I'm hearing what Will is saying. Next season, and don't talk to me about form. I'm gonna get to that in a bit. But just answer this question, yes or no. Next season, do you need a striker?
Yes.
Okay. Do you need another midfielder?
Yes.
Okay. So based on that alone, Will was saying the fact that you signed a player for 65 million, next season you're going to address the same issues again, means that signing in isolation is not a success. Because if he solved one of these issues, you could technically say, yes, he was a success. Now, if you want to talk about his form, I agree with you 100%. His form recently has been good. Because ever since you start putting him in striker and he start delivering GA and you're winning goals, you can say that, yes, now the signing is helping us. There's two sides of how you can look at this. He's looking at it in a way where, like, going to next season, these issues are still mainly not addressed.
Okay.
But if you want to talk about the form, because he's picking up the same time. Exactly. This is what I'm trying to say. Both. How is it ridiculous?
Staffy, let me explain. Sorry, Igal, before you go, Igal, you posed the question to me.
Okay, bro. Wallahi, the exact same take that you just had. We can all agree that Cole Palmer is one of the best players this season. That's been a signing, but still, Chelsea are going to need to strengthen their attack and they're going to need to strengthen their wing. So based on your point, Cole Palmer has been a waste of a signing because they still need to strengthen all the areas around them.
Wait, hold on. And back you go to us for a second. I get the logic you guys are coming with, but I don't think it's about Kai Havertz being a waste of money. I think it's about if Gabriel Jesus this season would have had a better campaign than last year on performances, availability, and goals. And if Fabio Vieira, as an example, would have gone to the level expected, obviously purchased from 2 years ago, and Kai Havertz delivered how he did, maybe Arsenal would be focusing elsewhere in the summer on where to improve. So I don't think what we're doing here is we're reducing what Arsenal need in the market down to should they have got Kai Havertz or not. Kai Havertz has been a success so far. I thought his first 3 or 4 months, he still like the Chelsea player who's really started to blossom and flourish. It's more about previous signings, and you look at like Zinchenko's another one who one good year and then he's fallen away. You start looking at those signings and go, well, they're more of an issue here. Fabio Vieira, more of an issue. Jesus, more of an issue than Kai Havertz. I don't think the Kai Havertz signing should be looked at as poor because he is delivering. And even if they go and get what's his name? Eucharist next season, and he starts number 9 and it scores double the amount of goals. I still think Kai Havertz will play a really important part of the team and squad. And we all know it's a squad game nowadays. So I don't necessarily, I get where you boys are coming from, but I think we're focusing on the wrong player. You've got to look at the ones who haven't delivered.
Can I also say something, right? So I hear you about the question you asked me, like, are we getting a striker next season? Yes, we need a striker next season. I totally agree we need a striker. And the issue this season was everybody said from the beginning of the season, Arsenal will not be in the running because they don't have a striker. Arsenal will not do this. And the coach found a way. He brought in players that he thought, you know what, if you can give me this, we are still the highest scoring team. We have 5 players with double-digit GA, right? We're still the highest scoring team. We found a way to put the ball in the back of the net, which is the aim of the game, right? That's the aim of the game. Whether or not you have a Haaland that gives you 50 goals or I have 5 players that give me 50 goals, the bottom line is we found a way to sort out the problem, which is the scoring the goals with Kai Havertz involved in it, with our front line. Remember this as well. This season, Martinelli has only scored 5 goals, dropping from 15 last season. Odegaard has
and why is that?
I know, and Odegaard has dropped a lot. No, I get. See,
but why is that, Dio? But
Martinelli, because Martinelli's dropped in form. He's dropped in form. It's
No,
clear.
no, no. Why did Martinelli's role change in the team and then he lost to GA?
Martinelli's role changed in the team because we changed our whole left side. If you remember, this is what happened at the beginning of the season. We changed our whole left side. Jurriën Timber came in the first game, got injured. Hold on. We changed. Granit Xhaka was no longer there. He played with Granit Xhaka from last season. Last season, no more Granit Xhaka. We're trying to see if Kai Havertz could play in that role. Sometimes he played Leandro Trossard in that role. And because we changed our whole left side, it wasn't Zinchenko anymore with the usual people. It was a lot harder for Martinelli to perform at the beginning of the season. And then, of course, he had his 1 or 2 knocks in between the season. He went out for a few games, came back, confidence low. You can tell that he's going through a lot. Whatever it is, I know the boy will bounce back. He's young. He's got the skill in him. We've seen him do it before. I'm not going to single out one player and say, well, because Kai Havertz came is the reason why Martinelli was not performing. That is going to be utter nonsense. That means Martinelli is not even a professional if Kai Havertz throws you off your game. If one player comes into the team and because of that, you are unable to perform totally, you go from 15 goals a season to 2, then you yourself have a problem. So for me, it's all about how the team is set up. And I'm glad at what Arteta has done. He made the right choices.
Martinelli's GA got picked up by Havertz. That's what I'm trying to say. Because in the beginning of the season, when the Havertz signing was made, Terry, I don't know if you remember that. I said this on one of the top 6 shows with Jess. I said at the end of the season, even if Havertz gets that GA, he's not adding it to that current team, or I should say the team from last season. He's picking up that GA from somewhere else. And that's exactly what happened. Because Martinelli went from your top scorer in the league last season to now having 5 or 6 goals, where Havertz now picked up his goals. And that's the point that I'm trying to make. You made that signing. And yes, I think for the recent form that he's been in the clutch right now, if he ends up winning you the league, 100% is going to be a successful signing.
See, let me just. I went and looked at the stats while that was being said. Now, I don't think it's about Kai Havertz taking goals off Martinelli. I think that's a fallacy.
100%.
I'll tell you why. I looked at the stats. So shots per 90 minutes last season versus this season, 1.7 per 90 minutes this season, 1.8 last year. Shooting accuracy, okay, excluding blocks, okay. This season, 55%. Last season, it was 58%. So he had a slightly better shooting accuracy. Shots per game the same. Accuracy slightly worse. Shots blocked is slightly more this year, but only by like 0.01. It's the conversion rate. The chance creation for Martinelli is the same this year. Dribbles complete is the same. Crossing accuracy is the same. Passing accuracy is the same by a couple of percent. It's the conversion rate. His conversion rate has gone from 27% to 16%. So the only way Kai Havertz has taken goals away from Martinelli is if this season in the Premier League, he was creating less and having less opportunities to score goals. But it's remained pretty much the same. Martinelli just hasn't performed well.
Is the areas he had to occupy when Havertz was playing in the midfield.
It's nonsense because he's had the same amount of.
The conversion rate, Terry, doesn't tell you what areas you're taking the shots from. Where are you when you take?
Hang on a minute. Let's not nitpick. He's having the same amount of shots inside the box and outside the box as last year. Okay, you're right. Maybe this year the XG next to it isn't as high. But what has let Martinelli down this year, and we've all watched him play, he has not been good enough individually this year. It's why he's not starting in the team. You cannot blame that on Kai Havertz. That for me,
blaming it. I'm explaining
that is blaming.
That is not blaming. I can't blame him.
Hang on, blaming it or putting it. Hang on a minute. Just stop everyone.
It's explaining it, not blaming it.
But it doesn't. Whether you just let me finish talking. Whether you're saying whether you don't like the word blame or not, or you're using the word explain, you're saying that Kai Havertz being in the team has taken away from Martinelli. My eye test says that isn't factual. When my eye test has seen Martinelli have so many chances to score this year and he's missed it, then you look at the stats. The opportunities he's had to score this year has been almost no different to last season. The only difference is he hasn't converted his chances. That has nothing to do with Kai Havertz unless Kai Havertz is standing in his way every time. Come on, I'm not going to use the word blame, might trigger Staffy. Let's stop using Kai Havertz as the reason as to why Martinelli hasn't individually performed. It's on Martinelli. Come on now.
Wait, so the conversation now about Martinelli, or are we still on Kai Havertz?
Well, I'll just mention that because the conversation was Kai Havertz and it went on but he's the reason that Martinelli's gone backwards. No, Martinelli's just not had a very good season. It's nothing to do with Kai Havertz for me.
I think Havertz throughout the late stages of the season has been a success. and he's done well. But Arsenal need a killer in their front line.
Agreed.
That's not Bukayo Saka or Martinelli. That's why they're going for this Swedish guy from this Portuguese league. Whether he's the killer or not, they need a Watkins, they need a Tony, they need an Isak, they need someone who is going to get 18 to 25 goals a year, as well as have a Kai Havertz, because it's a squad game. And next year, they're in 4 comps again. Like, if Kai Havertz gets an injury, who plays up front for the last 3 games of the season? Is it Gabriel Jesus? Because he's fallen off a cliff. Is it Martinelli? His form's horrendous. They still need a killer.
Yeah, but I think that the issue that I'm talking about with Kai Havertz is not his performances for Arsenal, because it's like I said, he has played a big role for them this season. But my thing is, you spent almost 65 million, and then you made him your highest paid player at the club for a guy that plays in the areas that you're still going to have to go out there this summer and spend a lot of money on, because it's still not good enough. So that's what I'm saying.
But hold on. Look, I mean, this doesn't make no sense.
You're not Man City, bro.
Hold on. Listen.
That's a luxury for them. Arsenal don't have that luxury as of yet.
Can you stop for a second, right? You want to compete against the Giants, and you don't want to play like the Giants. You want to be like the big boys, but you don't want to strengthen your team. But you don't want us to be like the big boys. You want us to go out there and be and as much as we back our team, Arsenal, right? And then when we try to show that we can play in the same league, you now say, well, you're not there yet. Why are you spending 65 million on Kai Havertz? And then you're going to still make that role better. Look, I would rather get a better striker than Kai Havertz again next season and have Kai as my second striker, sell Gabriel Jesus if I need to, get somebody else in my midfield, keep a Thomas Partey, keep a Declan Rice, bring in a Zubimendi, get rid of Emil Smith-Rowe. I would get rid of all these guys. That's what you do when you
Yes, but my thing is, how is it sustainable to have Kai Havertz on the bench?
Hold on.
Will, Kai Havertz is versatile.
How is it sustainable to have Jack Grealish on the bench? How is it sustainable?
Okay. If I can answer, I don't need a dialogue or like a whole monologue.
Let Will answer. No one jump in and let him answer.
I don't need a whole monologue from you, bro. I understand what you're trying to say. What I'm telling you is, Kai Havertz is going to be on the bench next season for a majority of your games, and he's going to be getting paid $350K a week. Okay, I get it. You want to bring up Jack Grealish with Man City. I think that was a bad signing for City, because Jack Grealish doesn't really fit into that system that Pep wants to play. I think he's taken the creativity out of the player that we saw at Aston Villa. And I think that was an overpay as well in terms of the 100 million. But my main issue is, like what Staffy asked you earlier, do you still need to go out there and spend big money on a striker, on a midfielder? Two areas that Kai Havertz operates. So what I'm saying is, you're going to now have a 65 million player on 350K a week that's going to be riding the bench if everybody's fit. So Will, I'm not saying that he hasn't performed well for you guys, but I'm just saying.
Can I just respond 1 minute? So Will, next season we're going to be playing in 4 tournaments, and we're hoping as a team that wants to get back to the table and sit and eat with the big boys, like the Real Madrids and the Cities and the big boys who are there now. A team that is looking to come back there. We want to have a squad where in depth. If we're going to be playing Kai Havertz as our striker in the FA Cup, let him be the FA Cup striker. I would take that. I will pay you 350K. Listen, no, I'm saying I will pay you 350K. Listen, hold on.
Let him finish, and then we're going to move on.
I would pay him 300K a week to be my FA Cup striker, get a better striker to be my league striker, my Champions League striker. I would have him as my Carabao Cup striker and win everything if I can. That's how you become big. So for you to sit here,
how much? Wait, how much?
I want to move on, guys, because we're going to go around in circles, and we don't have to do it. All I'm going to say is this: when Man United signed Dwight York in 1999, nobody was like, How dare you do that? Because you've got Sheringham, Solskjaer, and Andy Cole already at the club. I think adding depth is there. Just to get as well, Staffy, someone just sent me through it. So per 90 minutes XG this year, which everybody says shows the quality of chances, is 0.32 versus last season of 0.33. So again, Martinelli, according to the stats and the match my eye test, he's had the same opportunities to score this season per 90 minutes.
That is not correct. That's not correct. Let me correct you. Martinelli's per 90 XG this season is 2.6. Last season was actually less. It was 2.5. That's the shots per 90. The XG last season he was at a 9.3. Now he's at a 6.5. So when I said the quality of the shots is different.
Stop. But what you're not factoring into that stat is that he's played nearly 1,000 minutes less.
But it doesn't matter because that's a ratio. It's a ratio, not a total.
Staffy, please let me finish talking. So it depends on the website. I'm on the website here that shows last season was at 10.54 versus this season at 6.8. But that's a cumulative amount. You go to the next tab, which shows XG per 90, it's at 0.33. So it's like when you see it's a cumulative amount. If you've played 1,000 minutes less this season, your XG is likely to be lower than last year, even if you've had better chances this season, because it's added up over the course of the season. Per 90 minutes this year, according to the website under stat.com, his XG per 90 minutes is the same.
Can I say something, Terry?
Because XG has nothing to do. The XG, Terry, 1 second.
Stop a second.
I've let you talk a lot. I've let you talk a lot. I need to answer.
No, let me ask you this question. Why is it wrong? Why are these facts in front of me wrong?
Because, okay, when you explain XG, first of all, you're explaining it wrong. XG doesn't have to do with how long you've played. If I go on the pitch and you give me one-on-one chance with a goalkeeper, that is a higher XG than if I've played the whole game and I took like 2 shots from outside the target. The quality of the chance is the higher XG.
Okay,
the lower
so let me show you this here. Okay, so this shows you. Okay, I'm going to zoom in as close as possible so everybody can see. I just want you to forget arguing with me, the facts here. So you can see this season at the top, it says his XG in this here is 6.84, where last season underneath it was at 10.54. But then it shows you per 90 minutes, because this is a cumulative amount over the course of the season. So his per 90 minutes is practically the same in the last 2 seasons. It's just that the way I'm reviewing that is because he's played less minutes. The XG per 90 is not allowed it to accumulate as high as last season. Because there's no way, because that thing there that says 10.54, there's no way his XG per game was 10.54.
Because he's exceeding his XG over there. I'm going to send you the website, Terry, so you can understand what I'm talking about.
Last season, he exceeded his XG because he was converting chances, probably even more than normal. Per 90 minutes, his chances this season have been the same. That's a fact.
I'm going to send you my website so you can understand what I'm talking about.
But why are you? So you're disputing this website's facts? I just need to answer that question.
I don't know what that website is, so I'm not going to dispute it or not.
That's the XG website. Terry, can I just say this? Honestly, you guys are Debbie Downers. You guys are trying to ruin my flow. We just beat Tottenham in a North London derby. These guys told us they're going to ruin our season. Kai Havertz was called a flop for the whole entire year. Man scored 2 goals versus Chelsea, got a goal and assist, and picked out a beautiful pass for Bukayo Saka for that second goal. This guy has been integral to most of our games this season that we won. He won us 6 points versus Brentford, both games. Got the winner. He was crucial against Liverpool. He's been crucial against City at home. He's been crucial the whole entire season. And when we go to Mikel Arteta, his management, to get the best out of the squad, guess what? Sometimes there's going to be sacrifices. Sometimes there's going to be players that do things. But at the end of the day, the way we've been building the squad, the way that we've been progressing year on year out, I'm happy with this progression. I'm happy with where we are. We have 3 games remaining, and you guys can keep talking about Martinelli, everything. You can talk about Kai Havertz's wages. I can tell you no Arsenal fan right now is speaking about Kai Havertz's wages or Martinelli's lack of goals, because it's not hurting us. We actually are still benefiting because the team is playing well as a unit.
So what has that unit got you so far this season? Is
you can't win the
other teams.
You can't win this season.
Will, let me answer Will.
Guys, I'm going to jump in because we're right near the end of the show and I've got to get through these super chats. Sorry, gentlemen.
We're at the top of the table, Will. That's where it's gotten us so far.
Terry,
have a game in hand.
I know you got to shoot. Let me get through these super chats before the end of the show, people. This here says people talk like Arsenal's owners don't have cash to spend. Well, they certainly do. They're very, very rich. Arsenal's top priority this summer is not a striker; it's a midfielder. We are looking at more of a prospect strikers now. Read the recent reports. This is true as of right now. To be fair, Havertz has played 10 games as a striker for us in the league, according to Transfer Market. He has 7 goals and 6 assists in those games. He's our forward. Staffy can. We can still get another fantasy striker,
fantastic
midfielder, and yet Kai remains starting over them.
That's fine. That's what Dai said, but I highly doubt that when Arteta signed him, he wanted him as a bench player. I actually don't think you're going to sign a striker next year. I think he's going to continue with Havertz because I feel like that's the profile that he wants.
Man, I thought that was deluded Guna, but unfortunately, it's just another dusty Man United fan. Havertz. No, Will's not a Man United fan. I assume you mean Will, But Will's a Madrid fan, right?
Yeah. But
Yeah.
funny enough, my favorite Premier League team is Arsenal. But, you know, it's like I hate them, I guess.
Which other £60 million player has better GA than Havertz in his first season with the club? Not many. Please stop this agenda. Opinions?
Bruno Fernandes.
Haaland.
Bruno Fernandez just smashed that. Yeah. Well, yeah, Haaland's an interesting one because the player fee was definitely under that amount of money, but the signing on fee was ridiculous. But that all changes with the new cap that's coming in. I'm so glad the new cap's coming in because we can finally, football fans, can stop using the word net spend. And I honestly think Elon Musk, I have tweeted in this 100 times. He doesn't know who I am, by the way. Please ban people from X forever if they use the word net spend. It doesn't exist in football. Let's ban that shit. Arsenal fans, laughing my ass off. Last season, you were top without him, and now you are not top because City has a game in hand. So how is Kai a best investment?
Respond to that is points on the board is better than the game in hand, man. Simple. That's what you told me last season, and that's what I'm going to stick by. Because when it was no,
Paddy, they're guaranteed.
Let Paddy speak. Let Paddy speak.
Let me just finish. He didn't let me finish. Let me finish. You can say what you want as regards.
You've been yapping all night, man.
No. You can say what you want as regards to whatever team it is. I'm just letting you know that as of today, if the world blew up and the season ended, we win. As of today, so points on the board. It's better than the game in hand. That's it. That's all I'm saying.
That's your best chance. If the world blows up, that's your best chance for winning.
Paddy, you went from Christmas champions to January champions to if the world blows up champions.
Stop.
That is amazing, bro. That's amazing.
Oh my god.
Table. So
Kai's celebration is for his friend Marvin. I don't know how to pronounce that name. From Werder Bremen. At the time, he did it once, and it as a joke, and it stuck. It's not that deep, Paddy.
Yeah, it's still shit though.
I thought Kai was a terrible signing, but thank God I was wrong. I'll take that. Is what Plasma Fam says. And is a pace merchant. His entire game plan yesterday was run harder and work harder. VDV alluded to it in his post-match press conference.
I don't agree with that because other than the wide players and Van der Ven, we're not blistering pace. Like you look at our midfield, we don't have anyone in our midfield who has blistering pace, and you win a game in midfield. Like, and you look at his time at Celtic, they don't have anyone who has blistering pace in their midfield. So I just think Ange is just, if his tactic doesn't work, there is no plan B. When Ange ball works, it is probably the most entertaining football to watch in the league. But when it doesn't work, we are in a bit of a pickle, I guess you could say.
City will keep winning it until they are convicted, punished, relegated. Guarantee City wins next year until they are out. Slot should focus on the FA Cup or Champions League. Don't try for the Prem. I mean, you got to try. You can't not try. Jesus Christ. Sell. Now it is time to get as much as you can and replace with young talent. Salah ain't getting any better. Cheers is what George says. That's to earlier. Thank you. This was to Don earlier, but it says if Cucurella needs to invert in your system and Enzo and Cancelo can't play together and Enzo can't play 10, where does he play? Well, he'll play when. It's a very good question. He's not here to answer it now.
Can I answer that actually?
Yeah, go on. You answer it. Go on, mate.
Because as much as I defended Enzo, I actually think, because don't forget that Lavi's going to be back, I don't see a midfield where Enzo, Caicedo, and Lavia all exist. I think one of them has to go. And as crazy as it sounds, because I was defending him, I think Enzo has to go.
Great. No, I actually think it's going to be Caicedo.
Caicedo, did you see how good he looked?
Nah,
the last two times.
He's the one at the moment who, like, is actually performing, and if they've got to sell, like they're not going to sell Enzo Fernandez, no way. Like there's too much PR.
Are you saying they're going to sell Caicedo because he's performing? Is that what you're saying? So they can get money.
Lavia barely had a game.
Do you know what? Knowing Clear Lake or Clown Lake as Chelsea fans, I wouldn't be surprised if they messed it up that badly. To be fair,
because the thing is, he's sorry, Terry. I know you want to move on, but he thrived the last two games. Enzo wasn't there, and it just showed you when Enzo's there and he has to be more of a 6 than a box to box. He doesn't look good. But then when Enzo's gone and he gets that free roam,
Enzo's doing more box to box. He's got a lot of good PR in the club, and
No, I understand that.
I mean, he is better on the ball than Caicedo, but
I
Caicedo
understand that.
thrives more.
Imagine making a player like, I mean, I don't rate Conor Gallagher, but imagine you making your captain. He starts every game as the manager, but then your club want to sell him. That shows the place is a mess. So Poch doesn't elevate Spurs to heights they haven't reached in 30 plus years. They did, but he's just not a great manager. Sick of people calling Terry a gunner. That's me. I am the only one that remembers him calling us Banter FC when we lost our league opener to Brentford. Yeah, people, what it is that there's trolls know that, because the trolls that slag me off have watched every show I've ever done and have watched every video I've made for 7 years. We did the maths recently on how many hours that would take. And it turns out some of these trolls have spent nearly 9.5 months of their life watching me. I love you so much. You're amazing people. But of course, you know, if Arsenal are crap next year, I'll say they're crap. It's as simple as that.
That's your burner account. You're not fooling us, bro.
Wait, I mean, that's coming from a Spurs fan. We are not going to talk about Ten Hag. No, we're not mentioning Man United tonight. I've tried to do the whole show without bringing up my club. People hyping the game in hand as if City didn't nearly lose yesterday to Chris Wood. I mean, listen.
Keep believing that City won't drop points. Don't worry. Arsenal are going to be in a situation where they've won 14 out of 16 games and they're still going to finish second. I'm glad that we fucked it, because final day trauma isn't for me. Fuck that shit.
Paddy, you know they're on their longest undefeated streak in club history. Apparently, I didn't even know
hilarious.
that.
I hope they lose by
they're not that good.
Because loads of Arsenal fans are the same guys. Be like, when I say, "Oh, we lost only by a point," and they like diminish it, I pray to God they lose it by a point. I will be there.
Laddie here says, saw your title of the stream, Terry. Had to come and tell you they rule what? They haven't won anything yet. But yeah, right now, Arsenal rule London. They're the best team in London. Surely that's right. Same as Man City rule Manchester right now. I'm sorry, Terry. My bad. That's my club too. It's all right, my man. I know it's your club, Joshua Jack. You haven't got to apologize. Look, I want to thank everybody for tuning into the show today. Remember to go and check out Match Bingo now. If you have to be in the UK to use it. It doesn't work anywhere else. So UK viewers, go and check that out. I want to thank all of our super chatters, everyone who's hit the like button so far. You're amazing. But Paddy, Will, Staffy, Henry, I know Dio was here. Who else was here on the show today? Gal was here and Don was here. Thank you all very, very much. Amazing show. Great challenge, great opinions and fights and debates.
I tweeted the stats out, by the way. If anyone says I'm waffling, just go check the stats that I was talking about. It's on my Twitter. I'm not making up stats. So, go check it out there.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say that my website's better than your website. Do you know what I mean? That's what I'll put it down to. Someone has told me mine's the official XG website. I don't actually know. I just went to the one top of the Google search, to be honest with you. Listen, until next time, people, take care. Goodbye. God bless. And we'll